Yes.
The Leaf Spring Army sends its regards.
Hello, everyone. I'm the Enforcer, and I'm accompanied by Enforcer Matt.
And good evening, folks. It's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to day 1246 of the War News Stream. And today we have very big news that Iran has intercepted a U.S. destroyer in the Gulf of Oman today. Also, Ukraine slams Russian and Crimean targets, and Israel is finalizing plans to attack the Houthi forces very soon. And it's good to see you all once again.
And of course, we're going to be covering the past 24 hours of news from around the world, as we've been able to hear significant developments from every corner of the globe. Starting off inside the Gulf of Oman, we have been able to hear that the Islamic Republic of Iran has conducted an armed showdown today with the U.S. Guided missile destroyer USS Fitzgerald. It appears that according to Iranian official claims, they were able to force the ship to turn around and flee the area inside of international waters, although we have not been able to hear a statement from the U.S. Department of Defense. It does appear, however, that the Islamic Republic of Iran is still taking extremely hostile posturing towards the United States and our interests inside the Middle East, as we are now understanding that they are still working towards the development and deployment of nuclear weaponry. Outside of that, we have also been able to hear in the greater world at large that the Ukrainian armed forces have conducted a significant armed attack on the cities of Sochi and Adler on the very southern tip of the Russian Caucasus or Don region. We have been able to understand that these attacks have been significant, and for one of the first times ever outside the Moscow air defense perimeter or the Crimean Bridge air defense perimeter, there has been some limited air defense missile interceptions being conducted around Sochi, although there was a decent amount of recorded missile failures in that defense as well, once again showing that Russian air defense equipment in terms of large caliber interceptors is once again limited and also running out of available usable air defense missiles. We have also been able to hear that the Ukrainians and the Russians have talked about a possible ceasefire for the third time. As everyone has said, the third time is the charm. And the third time was not the charm, as both sides ended the talks within 30 minutes and stated that they are nowhere close to making a ceasefire agreement, and they're as about as close to a ceasefire agreement as the United States of America is to actually making up its mind on Syria. Outside of that, we have also been able to hear that there has has been high pizza traffic near the White House, showing possible heavy staff action at this moment due to some sort of a foreign policy situation, as we've also been able to hear that the United States of America has made it incredibly clear that they will not be persuading the Iranians to get involved in nuclear talks anytime within the future. The State of Israel has also demanded for all hostages to be released from Hamas, while at the same time we have been able to confirm that Syrian interim government security forces are inside of Sawaida at this time. Meanwhile, a swath of Russian workers at a nuclear plant inside of Turkey went on a riot today and absolutely trashed the complex of the nuclear facility, while we have also been able to hear that the Federal Republic of Germany is asking for assurances from the United States that if they send their patriots forward to Ukraine, they will be getting replacements. The Russian Federation has also conducted one of the largest naval exercises in recent years, with the naval exercises spanning the Baltic Sea, the Barents Sea, as well as the Far East near to the Sea of Japan and the Sea of Okhotsk. We have also been able to hear the Ukrainian armed forces have held their lines significantly today and have inflicted high casualties on Russian forces. In short, today is actually quite a decent day of news. Really quickly though, I do want to say this in advance. I'm very sorry to everyone who was waiting or has been waiting for a short war video for some time. Unfortunately, all of this major news comes out after our short war news video cycle is supposed to run, meaning that we are only able to run streams at this point until we get enough news in the middle of the day to be able to make a short war video. But moving on into all of the major news that we have over the course of this night, this is going to be taking us immediately down into the area of the Gulf of Oman, and specifically to the U.S. guided missile destroyer, USS Fitzgerald. The USS Fitzgerald is an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer of, I believe, the Block 61 variety, specifically, or the Flight 1 variety, as we can see right here. You can actually see a picture of the USS Fitzgerald in service in 2005, at least according to the public information we can see here. The Fitzgerald has had a somewhat uneventful service life, except for a particular situation several years ago, where the USS Fitzgerald actually collided with a Japanese merchant vessel off the coast of Japan and suffered significant damage. Since then, the vessel was returned back to the United States to undergo extensive refit and repairs to affect the damaged section, and then we were able to hear that the USS Fitzgerald has largely returned to service after this with an uneventful service life beyond that point. However, we have been able to hear, on top of that, the USS Fitzgerald is also the first US-based destroyer to actually have an artificial intelligence system built into its onboard computer arrays, and it also was on patrol near to the area of the Gulf of Oman inside of international waters earlier this morning. According to information that has been published by the Islamic Republic of Iran's Air Force, Army, and Navy, they have stated that they intercepted the USS Fitzgerald within the Gulf of Oman and conducted an armed showdown. According to the Iranian state media, this actually led to a forced withdrawal of the USS Fitzgerald from the Gulf of Oman.
US warship Fitzgerald uses Iranian Navy helicopter by Channel 1C.
That actually is the USS Fitzgerald. DDG-62 is actually the USS Fitzgerald for sure. It is the only vessel in the fleet that has the number 62 as a part of its DDG classification. For this reason, we are able to confirm that this video and picture evidence is accurate, and this was the USS Fitzgerald as it appeared earlier this morning near to the area of the Gulf of Oman.
Approaching to Iranian territorial water. Immediately change course to 180 degrees and get away.
Now, I do have to point out that while the Iranians apparently conducted an armed showdown against a U.S. destroyer, it appears that they still have not been able to find enough money to upgrade their camera systems, as it appears that this was filmed sometime in the early 1970s when color cameras first became a thing. But we see them continuing to circle the USS Fitzgerald.
No, this has to be terrifying for the U.S. sailors on that Navy vessel right there, because you have an Iranian helicopter, a rinky-dink helicopter circling, while the fellow there mumbling and chanting something under his breath. This is the most intimidating sight I've ever seen.
Dude, that guy was flying the helicopter and going, "Excuse me, you are entering Iranian coastal waters. Please turn to Route 180. It's like, bro, that guy was so quiet, they probably were on the ship saying, "Do you hear that?" Like they were probably like, "Do you hear that? That sounds like something somewhere." But beyond that, at least according, I want to make this quite clear, at least according to the Iranians, they got the ship to turn around and flee, and I quote, international waters. The issue with that is that the Department of Defense has not released a statement, and also on top of that, the USS Fitzgerald is an incredibly armed warship, a guided missile destroyer of the U.S. Navy, of the USS, largely the Arleigh class, is not exactly a weak ship. This thing is quite powerful, and it would take a significant amount of firepower to actually pose any kind of a significant threat, even to that of an Arleigh class destroyer on its own. The USS Fitzgerald is a Flight 1 destroyer, or variant of the Arleigh class, which means that its firepower is pretty extensive. Just to show y'all a little bit of its weapon array, it has one 5-inch gun, generally a flat cannon, or it can also be used in the artillery role in a littoral sense. It also has two 20mm Phalanx CWIS systems. It also has two 25mm Mark 38 machine gun systems on board as well, which these are actually a little bit special to the Flight 1 variant of the Arleigh class. They also have 4 50 caliber machine guns on board as well. And that's not even to speak about the vertical launch cell systems that they also have on board as well, which can house 90 air-to-air missiles, and also Tomahawk cruise missiles, and any other variety of missiles that the United States Navy will want to fit out onto the destroyer. It also has 2 Harpoon anti-ship launchers. The Mark 141s can carry about, I believe it's 4 Harpoons each, meaning that it has 8 anti-ship missiles on standby at any given moment. And it also has quite a significant radar and sensor array that is able to allow it to detect submarines or surface vessels or aircraft at hundreds of miles away for the large part. Submarines are generally far closer range, but surface ships and aircraft can be detected from hundreds of miles out. The idea of the USS Fitzgerald being faced down by the speedboats and helicopters of the Islamic Republic of the Poor's Navy is something that I don't really think would be making the USS Fitzgerald turn around with its tail tucked out of the Gulf of Oman. We are largely expecting that this is more so bravado and propaganda-like statements being made by the Iranian government to make it look like they got one up on the United States. But regardless of that, the video footage is showing us that the Islamic Republic of Iran is continuing to take hostile actions against U.S. vessels within the area, and not only that, U.S. vessels that are actually operating well within international waters. If you look at the coastal waters of the Islamic Republic of Iran and the amount of territory that encompasses within the Gulf of Oman, it's an incredibly limited area. It's only about 25 miles off of the coast. For that reason, they have no jurisdiction over the international waters inside of the Gulf of Oman, and especially the transit of U.S. warships in and out of the Persian Gulf. For this reason, it is incredibly clear that while the Islamic Republic of Iran has most likely fibbed this story, and the USS Fitzgerald is probably still in the Gulf of Oman, and probably even made its way into the Strait of Hormuz today, it is also clear that the Iranians are taking an incredibly strong and dangerous stance against the United States of America. Since the conclusion of the 12-Day War and Operation Midnight Hammer conducted by the U.S. Air Forces and Naval Forces, it has become clear that the Islamic Republic of Iran is still pursuing nuclearization inside their country, and not only that, they are starting to conduct even more aggressive actions at large against the greater Western world, which we can see in this example right here. These actions are either attempting to buy the Iranian Republic some time to be able to continue to produce their nuclear weapons, or produce such a dangerous situation that the U.S. and Israel backs off and pretty much gives the Iranians the breathing room that they're looking for to be able to try and continue on with their nuclear weapons development programs. One thing is incredibly clear, however, that the Islamic Republic of Iran, without a shadow of a doubt, has no intent of calming down or no intent of stopping its long-range ballistic missile programs or its nuclear research and development programs either. And this has been leading a lot of people to talk about what should have happened today with the result of this with the U.S. Navy destroyer. Now, I do want to make this quite clear before we even get into this question, that the story that was put out by the Iranians is highly dubious. I do have to remind you all that Iranian state media is not at all credible or truthful in its reporting most times, and has been known to cite factually incorrect statements more times than they've been able to cite factually correct ones. For this reason, it's highly likely, it's mostly a 75 to 80% chance that while the armed showdown did occur today, which we are able to confirm on video and picture evidence that we just saw, it's incredibly certain that the USS Fitzgerald most likely did not leave. As a matter of fact, the Fitzgerald most likely ignored the Iranian Navy, if anything, and continued to transit through the Gulf of Oman and the Strait of Hormuz. Nevertheless, a lot of people are talking about regardless of the actual details or what actually happened, what should have the U.S. Destroyer USS Fitzgerald have done when being faced down by the Iranian Navy and Army? And Matthew, what are people thinking about this, and what are you thinking about this as well?
All right, so it looks like 39% of the audience said the U.S. should have remained there and not left the area, while 30% said, I don't believe the story the Iranians are putting out about the ship running off, and 20% said the U.S. was right to de-escalate. And honestly, I am not buying the story whatsoever. I don't think the U.S. left because of the Iranian helicopter showing up, because the truth is, it's like a gnat flying around. It's like really, it's a bother, it's an annoyance to the U.S. sailors, but they're not scared of an Iranian helicopter. Hell no, not a rinky-dink Iranian helicopter. Absolutely not. That destroyer could take down much more than that. And if they wanted to, they could have just put the anchor down there and stayed there if they wanted to. And the Iranians would have done absolutely jack squat nothing unless you're going to start a war with the United States, which I don't think they were going to do. So me personally, I'm with the 30%. I think the Iranians made this up. If anything, the ship might have been already heading out of the area regardless. And the Iranians showed up and pretended like they just escorted it out so that way they could claim they ran it off. But that's being generous. I think the Iranians just made the whole story up, to be perfectly honest. But they did get some nice footage of our destroyer that we could use in a nice propaganda video, probably. But Enforcer, what say you?
I'd have to say that the whole story, at least beyond the armed showdown side of it, was made up. The USS Fitzgerald, or any U.S. naval destroyer operating within international law in international waters, is ever going to turn around. As a matter of fact, there is never going to be a situation where a naval vessel of the U.S. is ever faced with a situation where it's going to back away and run with its tail tucked between its legs. That is not going to be happening. It is incredibly clear that the USS Fitzgerald is still underway in whatever direction it was wanting to be in, whether it was going into the Strait of Hormuz or out into the Arabian Sea. It is still on that course, and it's been completely unaltered. We do have to remember that if a U.S. naval vessel, and this is just generally operating procedure, is operating within international law in international waters and is not violating the territorial sovereignty of another country, this vessel's path is going to remain unaltered. It would be up to the Iranians at that point to fire on a U.S. warship, and we all know that firing on a U.S. warship carries a great deal of risk. A lot of leaders might end up dead, a lot of governments might end up overthrown, and there might be a decent amount of considerable casualties and loss for the country that would conduct such an action or an attack, whether it was in their minds justified or not. So with that in mind, it's quite clear that the USS Fitzgerald did not turn away. Why the hell would it? Because we do have to make it clear that this ship is in international waters when the showdown happened. So there is no reason in hell, legally, internationally, for this ship to turn away. And there is no reason at all that the U.S. would give some sort of a general standing order to a vessel that, when faced with confrontation in international waters, stopping the freedom of passage, which is a respected international right of the seas, that you're supposed to turn around and run away. That's just something that would not be given as a general standing order to a U.S. naval vessel. So with that in mind, the Iranians made up the whole part of the story where the Fitzgerald turned away with his tail stuck between its legs. And also, I just don't know why they would do that, but we generally do know why. I'm saying I don't know why they would do that, but the explanation is clear. The Iranians are trying to save face after Operation Midnight Hammer, and they are also trying to portray themselves as aggressive towards the United States and also towards the Israelis to see if that will make the United States feel like backing off and putting pressure on the Israelis to back off to try and buy them a little bit more time for the nuclear program. Because another thing has become pressingly clear in the meantime, that more and more intelligence has begun to surface that all of the nuclear facilities that existed in Iran were not destroyed. As a matter of fact, only about half of them were, and those were the ones that we knew of publicly. Since then, a lot of additional facilities that appear to fit the description and type, which would be classified as a uranium enrichment plant or some sort of a nuclear research campus or that of a research reactor, have been found throughout the country, meaning that while Iran's nuclear program has been cut in half since the 12-Day War and Midnight Hammer, the operations to produce nuclear weapons are still ongoing inside of Iran. And because of that, it's incredibly clear that the Iranians either are going to get bombed again or they're going to have to buy some time. That is something, though, that the Iranians are probably going to be operating a little bit poorly on. It's not a wise idea to start facing down U.S. warships. Generally, if any line has ever been drawn that will draw the United States into a conflict, it's when anyone messes with our naval power projection. Other times,
which one is the country that's always saying they've attacked one of our aircraft carriers at some point? Is it the Houthis or is it the Iranians themselves doing that?
It's actually both of them at this point.
Oh, okay, yeah. They always say they attacked an aircraft carrier strike group or something. I think the last time they said they attacked one, the U.S. was like, no, like we haven't been touched by anybody. And then the Iranians were like, a victory, and then they like celebrated and stuff, and they didn't even do a thing to our ships.
Well, let's see. So to explain both of them, because actually both of them have done something along those lines, the Houthis actually did fire anti-ship missiles at a U.S. carrier strike group. I believe it was the Harry S. Truman at the time, but all of those missiles were shot down. And then the Iranians made a propaganda video where they built, I think it was like a plywood mock-up of nearly a full-scale aircraft carrier, painted it up to look like it was real, and then they blew it up and sank it and claimed on state TV that they had attacked and destroyed an American carrier in the Persian Gulf. And then the United States was like, we didn't do that. And that appears to be a plywood aircraft carrier that isn't even real. And so that was generally, and also, by the way, folks, some people are going to be like, but did they? We would know if the aircraft carrier was lost. There would be multiple thousands of families that would have just lost a service member that was within their family that wouldn't be alive anymore. So we would definitely know if an aircraft carrier got sank. But outside of that, both of them have claimed at some point that they've attacked and successfully hit an aircraft carrier or a carrier strike group, but there is absolutely no proof whatsoever that either one of them has ever been successful in that attempt, or that the Iranians even targeted and fired at a carrier strike group in the first place.
Yeah, honestly, I see some people saying, "Look, dude, that's just propaganda." Now, listen, now that is more than just propaganda, right there. Making up an entire story about like trying to attack our like aircraft carriers or something like that, and then declaring victory like they sunk something, that is like beyond normal propaganda. That is straight up delusion coming out of those countries. So no, I don't think that's normal. That's pretty extreme.
It is pretty extreme. You don't really see a lot of countries doing that, unless if you're Nazi Germany and you're trying to like just be bitter against the British, and then you go, oh, by the way, a U-boat sank the Titanic. Did you actually know, Matthew, that the German government under Nazi control actually made that claim, and they made a whole movie about it?
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, they like during, I think it was during World War II, they actually went, oh, the Titanic didn't sink from an iceberg. It was actually a U-boat that blew it sky high, and they made a whole movie about it, like literally. Like most of it's been lost to time, but you can still see little snippets of it. But it was actually absolutely crazy because I think they built a large mock-up of the Titanic and actually torpedoed it with a U-boat in the movie to try and make it look like, oh, see, actually it was us that blew up the Titanic. It wasn't just them hitting an iceberg. And that's almost what the Iranians are doing with American aircraft carriers, or at least the story they've been trying to push, is that they're like, oh, you see, it wasn't just, a normal day at sea. We actually sank an American aircraft carrier, which is never going to happen. Like, especially for the Iranians, it's never going to happen. Maybe one day out there, one of them will be lost. That'll be a very rare day and a very tragic day for the United States. But the Iranians sure as hell are not going to be ones claiming the loss of an aircraft carrier. They do not have the abilities with the speedboat navy that they currently have. But beyond that, however, it is becoming increasingly clear that the Israelis are also losing patience, as we do know that they have vowed further action, as of our last news statements yesterday, that the campaign against Iran is not over. And not only that, the Islamic Republic of Iran, through some anonymous Iranian officials earlier today, also stated that all of the explosions and fires that are breaking out sporadically throughout their country over the past few weeks are actually the acts of direct sabotage by some sort of foreign agents or actors. They don't know exactly who they are, it's Mossad, but they do know that it is happening at a very frequent rate, and for that matter, it's starting to cause significant damage inside of the Islamic Republic of Iran to military institutions, top officials, and also vital economic institutions like the petroleum industry, considering that the petroleum industry is an economic monolith inside of Iran, much like it is inside of Russia. For this reason, a lot of people have started to talk about the internal dealings of the Islamic Republic of Iran and what is going on inside of their country, but before we get on into that in greater detail or talk with y'all about what y'all are thinking about that, we have also been able to see that Syrian interim government forces have deployed security units throughout Sawaida, and I gotta be honest with y'all, my confidence in these security units is very low. They appear to be Tom, Dick, and Harry from down the street with some guns that are now hanging out in the streets. I'm not really sure if these guys are going to be providing a lot of security, and I'm not going to lie with y'all, the way they're kind of dressed up, it's kind of reminding me of this other group that existed in the area. It wasn't that long ago, and they had this interesting name. Oh yeah, ISIS. They dress and look a lot like them. I don't know if y'all are seeing that, but they look a lot like them.
Yeah, honestly, the uniform is a little bit sus. I'm not gonna lie. Like it kind of, and also, by the way, these guys are doing what now? They're reinforcing the area around Sawida to keep the Bedouin rebels out, or what are they doing?
So apparently, at least from their claim, the Syrian Interior Ministry has arrived on the border of the Dara Sawaida government as the United Nations and the Syrian Arab Red Crescent is continuing the evacuation of Bedou and Christian people. So it appears that the only people who aren't being evacuated from Sawaida are the Druze, but everyone else is being evacuated. But if I remember correctly, the massacres and genocides, I would really more so, I wouldn't say they were a genocide because it's not really a state structured thing, at least at the moment. It was more so like a widespread or a rash of massacres that occurred. All of the massacres that we have been able to confirm here on the channel and we've been able to verify happened because of the Syrian interim government and the Syrian tribal army against the Druze. We have no confirmation or proof that any groups of the Druze conducted any kind of massacres or wide-scale executions of Christian or Bedou people living inside of the As-Suwaida government region. No proof of that at all. So pretty much these security forces are there to intimidate and put down the Druze is the best way to explain it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they're there as a friendly presence. It looks like they're very sort of menacing looking. But I just don't understand, like that now these guys are going to show up to try to basically get order of the situation. But at the same time, though, they're not really protecting the Druze people. So to me, that would seem to lend credibility to the idea that Jelani knew the entire time what was happening. He let it happen, and now he's having to send these guys down here, the security forces, to make it look like he's making some attempt to bring an end to the violence down there. But it's not really a real attempt. It's more of just like for optics.
Yeah, I would say so. And also, for some of y'all to get my explanation as to why I'm saying they look a lot like ISIS, they're wearing all black. They, for some reason, ISIS also had this really big obsession, as well as Al Qaeda. Really, every Islamic radical faction has this obsession with the what we could call the kepi, if you want to call it that. Which let me go pull up a kepi hat. Let's see here. Let me go see if I can get a soft kepi to try and show y'all. Let's see here. The best one that I can find, these are all the hard style hats. They're very close to the style, and I wish I knew exactly what they were called. But in at least the French, in the French services, they look something like this. They have an absolute obsession with hats of that general style. Like you would see these commonly in the mid 2010s inside of ISIS forces, and you would also see this a lot in Al Qaeda's forces whenever they were shown on video. But generally, their ragtag appearance and their obsession with pretty much wearing nothing but close to all black clothes seems to once again lead credence to a more Islamic faction or a radical Islamic faction by their style of clothing than anything, because it's very rare to see security forces, like actual security forces, all blacked out, at least in terms of their clothes, without wearing some sort of additional riot gear. I mean, this is like, like late 2000s, early 2010s, Arab Spring sort of ISIS Al-Qaeda clothing that they're wearing. But we can also see them once again throughout the area, and it appears that they're largely there to just put down the Druze. That's probably the best explanation that we can give, and that's also the explanation given by the Syrian Interior Ministry, because you would think that their objective, instead of protecting the quote-unquote Bedouins and Christians from the Druze, would be to just stop the fighting in general and protect all groups, but they're making it incredibly clear that the Druze are not being provided any protection by the Syrian interim government security forces that are in the area. And also, I would have to say that and I also want to make this a little bit clear, considering that Christian populations inside of the As-Suwaida government region are non-existent, I feel, I'm just saying this largely for the optics of it from the Syrian government's perspective, I feel like the statement that they were helping to evacuate Bedouins and Christians is more so to make it look more internationally palatable than anything, because there are only, I believe, a few thousand Syrian Christians living in the As-Suwaida government, which is a non-existent number compared to about the 2.5 million people that call that region home. So it's a little bit bizarre that they would include that group, because it seems more like an optics side thing than anything, considering that the population within that entire region was negligible or non-existent. So pretty much they're there to protect the Bedouins, and if the Druze do anything, they're most likely going to get back to massacring them. But nevertheless...
Also, why did it take so long, considering that southern Syria is one of the most hotly contested areas between multiple different factions inside of Syria? Why did it take so long for Jelani to realize that he needs to have security forces down there to keep control of the situation, instead of just letting it run amok for literally ages? He's known it's been hostile, but he didn't do anything until now, until it got out of control, and everybody started basically putting pressure on him to finally respond to it, and now he did something. I mean, to me, it seems like there was a purposeful absence of the security forces until now, at least in my personal opinion, it seems like.
Yeah, I would agree. And this is also something similarly done within the Alawite Arab regions of the West Coast, is that he almost made the same statements and actions there. Because it was incredibly, like, you will remember this, Matthew, because you and me were watching all this happen. They liberated the area, then that little uprising happened. It wasn't even a big one, but a little uprising happened, and then the Syrian interim government went up there, massacred hundreds of people, and then sometimes would take people who were suspected of leading these uprisings, tie them to the back of trucks, and then floor them down the highway until these people were dead. They would do that commonly in that area, and then whenever Jelani was confronted with it, oh, those were just some groups that kind of went a little kooky, a little out of control, but, you know, nothing too big, just kind of a little deal. And that's also what he did down here, is that when the Bedouins started to attack the Druze, or really the Druze got mistreated to the point that they rebelled and wanted to create an independent or semi-autonomous region, then the Syrian interim government army went down there by Jelani's orders, cleared the city, conducted a massacre in the hospital, which once again, I got to remind you all, killed hundreds of people. Men, women, and children inside that hospital were executed all the same by Jelani's men. And then they were withdrawn from the city because the Druze pushed them out. And then that's when the Syrian tribal army started to show up, and they also carried on the same kinds of atrocities that Jelani's men just got done doing inside of the city. And that's the situation that we were seeing ourselves in right now. So it's a little bit crazy to see that Jelani's men, who are now being called up to pull security down there, are finally being called up after months of this going on. And not only that, they're being called up to not even protect the Druze. They're being called up to only protect the Bedou people, which are generally the Sunni Arabs that make up the large majority of the country. It's once again making it clear that Jelani's original statements, at least in his official government capacity in the interim government, where he said that Syria is going to be a Syria for all Syrians, is not true. It appears that he's really pushing for a Syria only for the Sunni Syrians and nobody else. So if you're an Alawite...
It seems like honestly, and hopefully this comes out properly. It seems like the extremist forces that were already operating inside of Syria, they've kind of discovered that the way that they can advance their agenda, which is obviously a bad agenda, they're against a certain group of people, is to basically get control of the government in a legitimate way, then create plausible deniability to then commit the atrocities they were already committing, and then they have some diplomatic leverage there to kind of play games with it. So that way, like for example, Jelani can say, oh, look, I'm not really like doing anything to them because I sent security forces down there. But also he creates like gaps where his like extremist forces can have chances to do really horrific things to certain groups. And then he sort of backs off and sort of tempers it a little bit. But I think the ultimate theme here is he's doing whatever the hell he wants to do. It's not a good agenda inside of Syria, and there's no signs of him stopping whatsoever. So honestly, I think Israel is correct. Israel has him pretty much pinned down pretty good with their assessment, and that fella in charge of Syria is going to lead to nothing good.
If you want to remember a little bit of what al-Jelani's like, let me show you this really quickly. This is what al-Jelani looks like after the corporate rebranding. This is what Jelani looked like before the corporate rebranding when he was the head of the HTS, which once again, we have to make clear, is a successor group of Al-Qaeda. Like this literally, at least in equivalent of Al-Qaeda technicalities, is like a spinoff of the Nazis, pretty much. That's what this is. It's an evolution of a terror group for the large part. That's who he is. Like this is still him to this day, at least by how he's leading Syria. This guy still carries the radical Islamic beliefs of Al-Qaeda, and he's just wearing a suit to make it look a little bit more palatable. And he's also pretending like he's not the one who is ordering these atrocities throughout Syria, when it's incredibly clear that the only atrocities occurring in Syria anymore are against the minority groups of the country, the Alawite Arabs, the Druze, and the Kurds. It never happens. Like notice this. Like, if there wasn't a coincidence to this, this is the greatest coincidence of them all. How come no atrocities or uprisings or massacres or genocides are ever being conducted in any region of Syria right now that is majority Sunni Arab? Why is that the case? That's because those are the people that Jelani favors, are the Sunni Arabs. They're the large majority of the country. Any other smaller group, Alawite Arabs, Druze, or Kurds, are not the majority group. They don't fall within the HTS's extremist ideological beliefs. And so, therefore, they are treated as second and third rate citizens. And if they ever protest this treatment, they're then massacred. And that's what we're seeing. That's just generally the truth, at least within that area. But with that in mind, before we move on out of the Middle East, well, not really the Middle East, we're not moving out of it just yet. We've actually got some news to talk about in Turkey. But before we get on out of the Near East, Middle East, and Far East, I do want to make sure that we talk a little bit about the mysterious explosions that were happening in Iran, and the fact that a Iranian official, anonymous official, said today that the mysterious explosions in Tehran are linked to somebody somewhere. They don't really know who. It's Mossad, and a lot of people have been putting in their thoughts on this. And Matthew, what are people thinking about this? And what are you thinking about this as well?
All right, so suddenly the Iranian officials woke up today and they realized what reality hit them in the face. They admitted today that the mysterious explosions and fires around Tehran and around their entire country are, hey, guess what? It's linked to Israel. Well, who would have guessed? What are your thoughts about that? So 67% said no joke, that was obvious, while 17% said it's mildly surprising to me, and 5% said it seems like a little shocking to hear. And honestly, I am so shocked by that. I am shocked that Mossad agents were on the ground causing havoc inside of Iran. I would have never guessed that. That's a shock to me. And of course, I'm being sarcastic there. We've known that for a while. We've been speculating that's the case. And we already knew there were Mossad agents on the ground inside of Iran because they were operating during the 12-day war and conducting targeted assassinations against Iranian officials. So to say that they're now conducting targeted sabotage and hybrid warfare, that is pretty much expected. So the Iranian officials are whispering like they've discovered something brand new, but we've known it for ages. So I'm with the 67%. But Enforcer, what say you?
I'd have to say that in my personal opinion, I'm actually shocked. Like, I don't know about you, Matthew. I never saw this coming. Like, all of these
I'm
random...
blown away.
Honestly,
No pun
like, it's
intended.
unbelievable, man. Like, who in the world would have ever thought... And don't treat it like a joke, man. This is, like, actually, like, serious. Who in the world would have ever thought that all of these random explosions happening after the 12 Days War would be coming from the Israeli Mossad? I mean, that's just, like, legitimately crazy. Like, I actually thought stuff in Iran just blew up, like, randomly. I thought that was just kind of like a normal thing for them. No, it actually just blows up. Like, it's kind of crazy like that. You know, it's kind of like how if you store a wet hay bale in a barn, it just catches on fire. Kind of like that, you know? I thought it was the same thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you put some flammables inside of Iran, they just happen to get flammable real quick, and they start flaming up. It's crazy. It's like the third or fifth wonder of the world or something like that. This random flammables going up in Iran. You know what's really goofy about this is Iran literally just got done with a war with Israel, like this short war that I would say Iran came out on the short end of the stick on the side of the war here. They came out of that, and now they're whispering, and the official in Iran that said this won't even allow himself to be named. He's acting like this is secret information, like nobody's aware of, that Israel will be the one conducting the explosions. It's like, who else would it be? It's like there's nobody else in the region that would conduct it except for Israel. So obviously it's going to be them. It's just by a process of elimination.
Man, remember when down at the Rajai port, right down here, a quarter of the thing blew up right when they got, like, just conveniently the day after the multiple hundreds of missiles arrived from China and were sitting in the port. All of them just magically blew up, and it destroyed like a quarter of the port. And the Iranians went, "Huh, what happened?" Like, you know, and they didn't know. It's like, hell, I wouldn't know. Like, probably the Israelis. Like, I would just take a good guess at that. Seems to make sense. Like, it's like they were, if y'all didn't know, to bring y'all back to a little story that happened even before the 12 Days War, when everyone knew that conflict was inevitable between the Israelis and the Iranians, just days before the 12-day war began. The Iranians publicly got a shipment of hundreds of almost near complete ballistic missiles from the People's Republic of China. And those missiles were unloaded and stored within Rajai port, which is right outside of Bandar Abbas. And just the day after they arrived and were stowed in the port, they all blew up. Like, I don't think hardly any of them survived. Out of the hundreds that were there, I think the Iranians may have only been able to salvage a dozen or a little bit more than that. But it was a significant explosion. It literally leveled a quarter of the whole port when the explosion was said and done with. And the Iranians literally went, "Oh, I wonder what happened with that. That's kind of odd." You know, like they just happened to spontaneously explode. And so back then we were like, that looks to be maybe the Israelis. And then after that, during the whole war, there were Iranian officials that were just spontaneously exploding, like no airstrikes or anything. They just blew up, like the apartments they were in, walls blown out and everything, you know, and everyone would be like, "Oh, what's going on with that?" You know, a couple of Iranian officials died. And then after that, since the end of the 12-day war, Oil refineries have been exploding. Military facilities have been blowing up. Everything that's important in the country has been blowing up pretty steadily. And the Iranians just keep going, I wonder what that is. That's kind of odd. And like, it's like they have no sense, because it's like anyone with a brain would know it's clearly the Israelis that are blowing you up. Like, it doesn't take a lot to see that.
Yeah, they hate to admit it though, because if Iran just openly admits, this is Israel conducting this, it's Israeli sabotage operations, it's conducting everywhere around our country. That's a scary thought. Like even knowing like how widespread these attacks are, there must be a hell of a lot of Mossad agents running around Iran, because these attacks are happening literally across their entire country. Like, it's not isolated to just Tehran. It's happening on the coast. It's happening in the north, the south, the east, the west. It's like they have Mossad agents apparently that infiltrated every inch of their country, because unless the one or two agents that are there, if it's only like a handful, unless they're like teleporting around the entire country, then it's like, surely it's got to be a lot, because these are some widespread attacks.
Yeah, I mean, it's like crazy. I think there might be more Israelis in Iran than Israel at this point, with how many explosions are happening through the country. It's unreal. I mean, like, in one normal day, there can be an explosion in Tabriz and an explosion in Mashhad at the same time of day, on two vital targets: airports, oil refineries, government officials, you name it. The list is endless. Almost anything that could be classified as strategically important has been hit since the end of the 12-Day War by some explosion. And it's incredibly clear that it is obvious it's the Israelis. And I see someone saying, man, the CIA gets no credit. The CIA most likely wouldn't be involved in this, because the CIA, at least in the general modern sense, likes to play it a little bit more low-key. The Mossad is kind of a little bit more out there with the aggressiveness, like in actually conducting these sorts of actions, direct espionage, sabotage, those sorts of things. You don't really see this a lot anymore from most Western intelligence agencies. It's somewhat rare to see it, at least from what we can tell in the modern day. Now, on the other hand, when we want them to do something, we'll drop CIA operations, this is actually commonly known, throughout Afghanistan, literally just drop them out of helicopters with suitcases full of cash, and they'll literally go buy off local support. That's something that we will do. And there's also been other things that we'll end up doing with CIA operatives, but something on this level in Iran, literally just having guys driving around, blowing up anything that they can, that's something that's usually rarely ever done, at least from what we can tell these days, by the CIA. This is more of a Mossad sort of a thing.
And also, there's a practical reason for that too, because Mossad has a much easier time blending in. It comes down to basics like that. They have an easier time blending into that country in Iran than the CIA would. And the CIA has agents that could blend in there, but it's a lot easier for Mossad to do it, because Mossad has the intelligence a little bit better, at least in my opinion, better on a handle, I guess you could say, than the CIA. The CIA, they're very good at collecting intelligence. I'm sure we've got some intelligence that we feed to the Israelis, but Mossad just knows how to operate in that region slightly better than the CIA does, even though the CIA also specializes in the region as well. The Mossad just have us beat, and the CIA does respect Mossad for that a lot, because they have a really good expertise, and it's mutual respect between those two agencies from what I've heard. But it's just a lot easier for them to do it. And also, the CIA doesn't necessarily want to go in and be the first ones, like the spearhead of the operation, since it is Israel's region of the world. They would rather let them do it first and feed them supporting intel to complete the mission than necessarily send in operatives on the ground.
And we also do have to remember that outside of Central and South America, where the CIA was usually heavily active, even involved in overthrowing governments at a pretty consistent speed, outside of there are some exceptions, but outside of the Central and Southern American regions, the CIA is more involved, at least from what I know historically. It is its main operation. Of course, there are still special activities, operations, and stuff that's conducted by the CIA. But historically, throughout the Cold War, if we were to take that as an example, a lot of the CIA's operations, if, for example, in the Eastern Bloc in the Soviet Union, were building up pretty much an army of informants, confidants, and also intelligence gathering operations to pretty much provide a stream of endless intelligence and information to the U.S. Department of Defense and also the Department of State, to be able to know how to interact with the Soviets, Eastern Bloc states, their weaknesses, those sorts of things. And the Middle East is not too different. There are some more hands-on sorts of activities that the CIA does from time to time, but from what we would generally know, it's more so involved in gathering up an army of informants and just creating an endless slew of information, intelligence and counterintelligence that is provided to the United States from inside of Iran, and also counterintelligence provided to the Iranians through those CIA informants or other people that are involved with the CIA. So I would generally say that this is more so a Mossad-like operation, conducting an actual aggressive action, blowing stuff up, than the CIA, which usually plays it a little bit more low-key, at least from what we would know from a historical basis. And I do want to make
And
this
also, and also, real quick, if you ask, I see people saying, "Are y'all like bashing the CIA?" No, we're not. If you ask any CIA officer, not that people just like run into them on a daily basis or something, you wouldn't know. But if you ask the CIA officer, do you think Mossad is more capable in the Middle East than CIA is? Most of them, probably like 90%, at least in my opinion, are going to tell you that Mossad is more capable in certain aspects in the Middle East than the CIA is, just because they have like a home field advantage there that they can leverage. That's basically it. Basically comes down to that. But we're good. Well, the CIA is good at other things too. So it kind of like levels out here and there. But I think you'd find most would say that.
Well, when someone breeds in Europe, we know, like the CIA knows. The CIA knows everything. Like it's actually a little interesting because the collapse of the Soviet Union, at least from what we know, was a treasure trove for the CIA because one, we were able to comb through literally everything. Like the government of the Soviet Union collapsed, so we generally were able to get access to a lot of their technologies and abilities as they had them at the time in 1991, which still are in place today for the most part across their military. And not only that, the extreme and desperate economic situations that were seen inside of the post-Soviet countries and the Russian Federation also were good enough that the CIA could build up a significant, at least from what we're assuming, army of informants in throughout the country that are able to pretty much feed the CIA a large amount of vital information. Because if anything happens in Eastern Europe, you can be guaranteed that the CIA knows about it probably about, hell, even several days before we know about it here on the channel if something actually openly, publicly happens. And a lot of additional classified information that they probably also know as well about Russian military abilities, battle planning, and a great variety of other things as well. I mean, the CIA is on top of the ball. It's just that the CIA has a different modus operandi for the large part in the modern age than a group like the Mossad would. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, at least in my opinion right now. But once again, I do want to make it clear that my strong point is more so general history, military history, and also those sorts of things. Intelligence and counterintelligence agencies like the CIA are not really my strong point. Have read about them a good bit, especially with what they were doing in the Cold War, and that generally would be what I could say off of their Cold War operating standards after Alan Dulles was no longer the director of the CIA. Because when Alan Dulles was in charge, the CIA was literally like the Looney Tunes wonky world of wacky stuff, and they'd do anything. But after he was removed, it ended up becoming a lot more tame. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that well, at least from what we would know at the moment. And with that, it is time for us to move on into the Turkish news. Because the Turkish news has been crazy today. First off, down here on the coast, near to the city of Mersin, which is a significant Turkish city, it unfortunately... Oh, wait a minute. Nope, that's not it. There is a nuclear power plant down here on the coast. And I was wanting to find it earlier today, and I didn't really... Oh, wait a minute. That almost looked like it. Where in the world would this thing be? Because I think I'm almost out of the Mersin region. Looks like I am. So it's somewhere along the coastline here, but there is a nuclear power plant within this region of Turkey. And what's interesting about this is that the Turks have actually tried to do a little bit of friendship building, at least historically in the past, with the Russians by jointly building nuclear power plants for peaceful electrical production purposes in Turkey to help build up the Turkish power grid. What is a little bit interesting about this is that this seems to have backfired today because this was the site that was seen today from outside the nuclear power plant. This was actually the gate to the nuclear power plant right here. And I'll just show y'all and then I'll explain what's happening.
Oh, oh dear.
So now to tell y'all what's happening, now that I kind of hit y'all with just the video itself, these are actually the Russian workers from the nuclear power plant that are rioting today. It's unclear as to why they are rioting. We don't know if it's a lack of pay, poor working conditions. We're not entirely sure. But all of these workers are Russian, apparently, and they're rioting. So we don't know what's up with this, but it was a very bizarre...
Is this the first ever riot at a nuclear plant? Because I've never heard of this ever happening before at a nuclear plant. Like, is this the first time?
I think it might be. I'm not really sure, but it seemed, at least from what I can remember, I think this is one of the first. Not really a good thing, though. But in Russia, they just call this a lunch break. But anyways, here's the rest of the clip. Dude, somewhere in that crowd right now, one of the Russians is going, I have an idea! We will pack a lunchbox! Like, are they taking a whole piece of the fence? Do you see that? Like, right behind the watermark? Is that a piece of fence?
I think it might be. You know what's scary about this? These guys are riding out of a nuclear plant. They could have, like, I don't know if they did, but they could have taken stuff out of the plant that they weren't supposed to take. It's possible. Because how the hell did they all just run out like this unless they gathered at the front door? I assume they ran out of the building, which means they could have run out of a sensitive spot in the nuclear plant.
I think so, but something else is a little interesting, man. If they ran out with anything sensitive, like someone's gonna be like, "Well, what did you get out of there?" And this Russian's gonna be like, "Look," and he pulls out like a piece of like uranium core, like from a rod, and it's literally like melting through his hand. He's like, "It's pretty cool, isn't it?" And they're gonna be like, "Oh my god!" But I mean, this went on for a good bit, like in this clip. Like this is a minute-long clip of this riot, and they're also spraying them with fire hoses. I mean, there's like a whole thing going on out here.
What nuclear plant has like water cannons installed around the perimeter? It's kind of wild.
I don't. Let me go type this in because we've got to know where this nuclear power plant is. So it's the Akyu nuclear plant. Wait, that's not it. Where the hell is that? This is not. This is in Ankara. This is not a nuclear power plant. Whatever this is. This is the headquarters for the Akyu nuclear company, but we need to know if they're let me go pull this up. Turkish nuclear power plants, because it's the one down near Mersin that this happened at. The Akyu nuclear power plant. And it's down there. So, we should be able to find it now. So, let's go down here. Somewhere around here. Where would it be? Generally, these are some fairly larger complexes that these would be based on. Wait. Oh, no, that's not it. Okay, we're gonna have to get a little bit better.
It's gotta be right next to the water because they gotta be obviously near the water source to cool.
So it's right there. Okay, so it's actually down a little bit from there. So hang on, let me move down here. Oh, yes, it's here. So it's actually not operational yet. It's under construction. Oh, it's a riot of the Russian nuclear workers. That's what's happening.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. So they're not running out with anything radioactive. So that explains why they're able to run out like that, because it's still under construction.
Okay, that explains it. Because I was thinking nuclear scientist rioting seems a little bit uncouth for nuclear scientists. Like the ones who actually run the plant. I was like, a little odd. But it appears to be a riot of the Russian workers that are helping to build this nuclear power plant. By the way, Russian workers are present at this nuclear plant construction site, apparently, the same as they are present at the Bushehr nuclear power plant site, where they're also building a reactor for the Iranians. So, getting back to the clip.
You know what this could be right here? This could be that the Russian company, I believe, that's trying to build this thing, could be having such bad financial troubles that they're not able to pay the workers. Could that be possibly why they're not getting paid?
I mean, actually, that might be a good reason why. Like, I'm not really sure, because there was no specific reason given by the rioters for the riot, at least from what we've heard so far, but that might be a good reason why.
Yeah, I'm seeing reports here from Visegrad 24 that apparently, at least allegedly, it's because of unpaid wages of the Russian workers at the plant. So that could be exactly the cause of it. It could be they're having such bad financial issues, they're not able to pay the workers, and the workers have just had enough, so they've just started rioting.
You know what is a great idea to the great Russian state?
What's that? To pay the workers?
Putting people in a nuclear reactor construction site and not paying them. They'll certainly do the work just fine. There won't be any issues with those reactors once they're brought up to power. It's like, dude, these guys are building a second Chernobyl down here on the coast in southern Turkey right now. It's like, what idiot would think, yeah, not paying these workers that are actually involved in building the actual reactor, the boiling vessel and everything, Yeah, that's totally reasonable. Like that, we should expect that that would be fine, and there's going to be no issues or faults with these reactors once they're done. I mean, shoddy pay is going to result in shoddy work, especially these people are forced to work, which will most likely be the case. And I don't know why in the world anyone would think that this would be a smart idea to keep them on the work site if they're not getting paid, you know?
Yeah, it seems like a bad idea, honestly. Also, I'm seeing some people mention that because I haven't really found out yet which person's responsible for not paying these people. Some people are saying it's not a Russian contractor; it's a different contractor, and some people are saying it is a Russian contractor. So I'm not sure, but whatever the case is, it is not a good idea not to pay your nuclear construction workers their wages. That's probably not a great idea because now they're running off from a job site that's very sensitive and it relies on having really strong security. So with them running off like that and destroying cars, it's not a good sign.
Yeah, it's not a good sign at all, and I think the Turks might end up having a dud on their hands with this nuclear power plant. Hopefully, they'll make sure to double check it. Also, the construction site here looks unreal with the amount of stuff, like the construction materials, the actual reactor vessels themselves, because these circular structures here, the cylinders, are actually a part of the boiling vessel of the reactors themselves. You can actually see the reactor dome being put onto one of them right here, and then this will all be enclosed inside of an actual built-up structure. The best example that I can give of something like this when it's completed would be either the Farley plant, but I'll go to the quicker one, at least here in Alabama, the Browns Ferry plant, which actually has several boiling water vessels inside of it that were made, I think, by General Electric, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure on that. Don't quote me on that one. But they have three, I think it's Type 1 boiling water vessels or boiling water reactors. And these are actually the same type and model that were actually put into the Fukushima nuclear power plant in Japan, the one that had the meltdown in 2011. But that's generally what they'll look like when complete. You won't really be able to see the reactor vessels themselves. They're usually enclosed within a building like the one at Browns Ferry or something similar. But that's actually what they look like when they're under construction. Also, another example of this would be up near Kurchatov, where we can actually see that the Russians are building the Kursk AES-2 power plant. And you can actually see them building, once again, the reactor vessels, which will then be housed inside of what is generally called a protected building or a sheath, but you can still see them building the reactors, at least at this point right here. So pretty neat with that, you know, like it's actually kind of interesting to watch them under construction. But anyways, with that, I hope we addressed that somewhat well. But it's time for us to get to some more news in Turkey, because this is actually the part of the news in Turkey that moves us into the second part of the stream, which is about the Ukraine-Russia war. Because the Ukrainians and the Russians got to their third rounds of peace talks today. They lasted for 30 minutes, and then everyone left. And everyone said that it achieved nothing. There's absolutely nothing to be gained from this, but they'll keep in touch. So it appears that the
You know, the good sign is it only lasted 34 minutes because the Russians weren't going to negotiate fairly this time anyway. So that to me indicates the U.S. has stopped putting pressure on Ukraine to just sit down for endless, pointless talks, or otherwise Ukraine wouldn't have walked off so early. So at least that indicates the U.S. is finally also waking up, because otherwise U.S. officials would have been pressuring Zelensky and also his team to sit there for days with no hope of actually making progress. So I guess that's a positive note on it.
dude, they sat there, came in and said, "Good evening, everyone. Let us start with icebreakers. My name is Vadim, and then 34 minutes later, screw you, you son of a bitch, suka, and then like ended up walking out. It's like, bro, like, and then they said, screw you, I'll keep in touch, by the way, but screw you, and then they just ended up walking off. So nothing was achieved today in Istanbul. Once again, not shocking, really. But you know, it still is an interesting point that it even happened, honestly. I was kind of shocked that they even went for a third round of talks, because I thought the first two kind of laid out the clear enough groundwork that no talks were ever going to make it anywhere right now. But anyways, with this in mind, it is actually the perfect transition point tonight that we have to move into all of the other news that we've gotten about the Russians and the Ukrainians today, and especially the Russian-Ukraine war. But before we move on into that whole segment, I want to make sure that we get to a little bit of talking, a little bit of chit-chatting with all of y'all, because it's always fun to have a little yap with all of y'all, and I love to answer some questions. And Matthew does too. And so with that in mind, Matthew, what do we got?
All right, so let's jump into our first 3 super chat questions before we get back into our news segment. And our first one here goes to Gray Grimley, who puts in a $50 donation. And thank you very much, Gray, for that $50 support, and we do appreciate that very much.
Hey!
And he said, happy belated birthday, Matt. And thank you very much, good sir, for that support, and also the happy birthday. He said, I missed you guys by 10 minutes yesterday to drop this, and take a question from the chat, please. And I love when you guys do, and keep up the great work in LSA.
Hey, and I gotta thank you so much for the support, Greg Grimley. And also, thank you for wishing Matthew a happy birthday a day after. Better late than never is what I always say. But a big thanks to you for the support. And I gotta say, thank you so much for enjoying the work we do. We try our best. I hope that tonight's news and analysis has been pretty good. Hopefully the jokes are all right, too. But beyond that, I got to thank you incredibly for enjoying this channel and supporting the channel day after Matthew's birthday. And so, a huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that has addressed that well, and we will make sure to get a live chat question. So, what do we got, Matthew?
All right, so this one goes to BC Mapper, who said, whatever happened to the supposed Mossad agents that were being chased by the Iranian police a couple of weeks ago? You know, I don't think we ever got the conclusion to that exact specific incident, but the Iranians claim they picked up on a couple of people that were allegedly Mossad agents inside of Iran, and they claim to have assassinated a couple, or executed a couple, actually, and also maybe imprisoned a few. So we didn't get the story on those exact ones riding through the streets, but that was a wild scene. I wish we had the answer, but I don't know if we do. But Enforcer, what say you?
We actually have the end of the story for several, actually. Like, there was 3 incidents that we got the full stories to in Tehran. So there were 3 groups that ended up getting into firefights with Iranian security forces. One of them, well, actually 2 of them were inside of what we could call bread delivery vans, like the shorter Isuzu trucks with a small, like, tarpaulin, or more so enclosed cargo stowage. Those sorts of trucks. And then there was one group that was apparently in some sort of a pickup. But to tell you all about the first 2 with the bread delivery vans, one of them was getting shot at as they were going down the road. They actually got caught and summarily executed on the roadside. We do know about that group, so they ended up getting killed. Another group ended up actually evading the armed Iranian security forces and ditched the truck in a tunnel, and apparently were picked up by some other car that was waiting there for them. Apparently that was their getaway, was escaping into that tunnel, hopping in another car, and then just leaving the van empty, because that van was found later completely empty, and the Iranian security forces were the first to find it, but it seems as though those people were far away from the scene at that point. And then the third group was in a pickup truck, and they actually escaped. Like, the pickup truck was never found. We've never found or heard that the Iranians were ever able to find them. And apparently that was one of the groups that was operating one of the Spike ATGMs that they were firing into the apartment buildings where the Iranian top officials were at. So we do know about 3 of the stories. One of the groups apparently was like 2 guys involved in that group. They were summarily executed on spot. The other delivery van guys were able to get away in a getaway car of some sort. And then the third group actually was able to evade the security services somehow and get away completely unscathed with their vehicle. So those are generally the 3 groups that we have at the moment right now. But I hope that does address that the best I can. But that's the best conclusions that we could get to those stories that I was able to find. We didn't, by the way, folks, I do have to say that on the one story where they were summarily executed, we're going off of the Iranian claims, but we were able to confirm that they did arrest 2 people that were involved in one of the bread delivery vans that was traveling around the city. So it seems to match up enough that we could largely say that that was a true end to that story, is that 2 of the agents were killed. But out of the 6 or 7 of them, out of those 3 incidents, they actually had a pretty decent survival rate for being caught and then attempted to be intercepted, arrested, or executed. A lot of them ended up surviving or escaping or evading for the large part, which is actually pretty impressive. But with that, I hope that does address it the best I can. Thank you so much once again, Greg Gremley, for sponsoring that live chat and helping this channel to keep on running. And as far as any other stories, if y'all have heard about any others, unfortunately, I just wouldn't know about them. I only know about those 3. So if y'all have heard of any other stories where someone was on the run, they on the run! But if you heard of anyone else who was on the run, unfortunately, I wouldn't know their stories. I only know of those 3. But with that, we are on to the next one. A big thanks to you so much once again, Greg Grimley, for supporting this channel and helping it to keep on running.
Yes, indeed. And our second one here goes to Demanoac, who puts in a 50 as well. And thank you very much, Demanoac, for that generous support as well to help keep the channel running. And he said, them forces got no phones.
And them forces, they got no phones. I'd be honest with you. They don't have a single 1. And I gotta say, I thank you incredibly for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible. We wouldn't be able to keep it running, and we wouldn't be able to say Iranians got no phones. And so a big thanks to you so much once again for the support. And also, Deminoak, I think you may have actually been talking about the Syrians, possibly. And they certainly have no phones. Like, look at these guys. Not a phone in sight. Living in the moment, as they say.
Man, I'll tell you what, no phones, no nothing. I don't know how they communicate. I guess they got some radios or something, I guess.
You know something, man? There actually looks to be, like, some collectibles out here in these AKs. Like, holy moly, are those East German AKs? Because they look kind of like them. Like, East German AK. 74. Let me show you all these, because these are a little bit interesting to me, and I can't tell, but the East German AKs actually have this plum style furniture on them. I believe this is actually an authentic set, because the East Germans were big into plastics. They didn't really have a lot of wood or timber inside of East Germany, so they generally produce a lot of their gun furniture out of plastics, which made them look kind of cheap, but there's a distinct sort of a color. It's like this plumish coloring with this dimpled sort of a texture on them. And I swear, man, I swear, do you see that one right here in this thumbnail? I swear, dude, that this one is one of those. Like, it looks like it has the folding stock and the plum furniture and everything to be an East German AK-74.
Yeah, maybe it could be. Also, I see people saying they're probably not using phones, radios, they're probably using pagers. I don't think they're using pagers. I have a hunch about that. I don't know for a certainty, but I really doubt they're using pagers at this point. I have a feeling that they're a little scared of those.
I think they're really scared of those. I think everyone threw theirs away after the whole Hezbollah, the Hezbollah pager explosions. 10,000 people lost their balls thing happened, and everyone was like, "Oh, we're going to get rid of the pagers, probably." But let's see. They also have an AKS-74U. Those are a little bit common, actually. In America, they're not common because they're technically SBRs, but in most of the world, these are incredibly common. So nothing interesting there. And this guy just has a normal. That actually looks like an AKM, but let's see. Then this guy, he has maybe, and that looks like an AKM again, but that stock's a little bit odd, and that's pretty much it. But still, I don't think these guys have phones. They're technically kind of living in the... Oh, look, Matthew, there's one of those bread delivery vans I was talking about right there. One of those, like, little Isuzu-style trucks that the Mossad was using in Tehran. That's actually the truck right there for the large part, but with a covered back to it.
Yeah, it sure is right there. You know, it's tough when they start using like regular trucks. It goes for like Ukraine and Russia as well. Like it becomes paranoia like central for everybody because nobody knows then what truck is like a bad one, a good one. They start screening everything to the point of paranoia.
Dude, it's like that meme of Mr. Krabs where he's like, "Huh?" You know, and he's like, it's like when you worked like 24 hours or something like that, and then something happens. He's like, "Huh, what was that?" You know, or something like that. That's what everyone turns into when these trucks start passing by. Everyone gets on edge. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, at least from what I would know right now, folks. And with that, a big thanks to you once again for the support, Deminoic, and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the final question of the segment, and then we're going to be moving us on into the rest of the news. So, Matthew, what do we got?
And this one also goes to Deminoak, and he puts in another 50, and a huge shout out to you, good sir, for that massive support tonight. He said, Russian worker must have seen a Mossad agent.
Yeah, like a Mossad agent pops up, everyone goes running. I mean, look at this. This was a legitimate riot. Like, it's crazy, actually.
You know, for Russian workers to riot, they must have been really behind on pay, like for them to finally get that pissed off to do that, because that's, you know, that's pretty extreme for the Russians.
I mean, it's really extreme for anyone. I've never seen a riot that seems like this violent and angry. I mean, they were literally like running and throwing stuff. I mean, they got sprayed down like a couple of lilies in a garden right here with the fire hose. You know, it's like, it's a whole deal out here. Like, this is a legitimate riot at this point. I've never really seen this, even in Russia at like Gazprom when employees aren't paid. We've never seen a riot like this. Usually it's some sort of a strike. And usually no one gets violent because they're scared of the Russian police. But I've never seen that before. That was actually pretty crazy. So I guess they must have seen a Mossad agent because they were angry. I mean, they were pissed. But beyond that, I thank you massively for that huge support that you've thrown in tonight, Deminoak, because folks like you make this channel possible and help us to keep it running. So a huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, folks, it's time for us to actually move on into the second bit of news that we have for the night. But before we do, we have a bow, and I see that a lot of people are talking about this little peace talk that happened in Istanbul today that ended in about 34 minutes, which is about the same amount of time that it takes to cook a delicious dinner, 34 minutes. And that brings us to tonight's sponsor. I'm just kidding, by the way. But beyond that, Matthew, what are people thinking, and what are you thinking about this as well?
All right, so we did discuss a moment ago the Russia-Ukraine peace talks that took place inside of Istanbul, inside of Turkey, and it ended after just 34 minutes. They literally timed it with a stopwatch and found out it was 34 minutes exact. So what are your thoughts? 57% said that's a bad sign and not good at all, while 27% said that's good. It indicates some sense is coming into the room, and 9% said I'm about 50-50 on this one. And like I said earlier, I'm with the 27%. I think that indicates that sense is returning to the room. And if you have nothing to discuss because Russia's not willing to negotiate, then why waste endless amount of days talking if it's going to produce nothing? Because at this point, Ukraine's gotten all the intel they need to be able to make the right decisions. The Russians are going to go head first into this war. They're not backing down, and they're preparing brand new offensives. So there's nothing left to discuss at all. It's time to basically let it be at this point, I would say. Let the life unfold, and we'll see what happens. But Enforcer, what say you?
I'd have to say that it's a bad sign. It's not good, and I think a third time was the charm, and the talks ought to stop. Talks are pointless if you're making it absolutely nowhere, and I'm not really a big fan of just wasting diplomats' time at a negotiating table getting nowhere over about 6 rounds of talks. If you wanted 6 rounds of talks, and you wanted to be wined and dined that much, then you should go hang out with the upper crust in New York City. But this isn't New York City, and we aren't the upper crust around here. We've got business to tend to, and for that reason, I don't think the diplomats' time should be wasted inside of Istanbul, endlessly going around in endless talks with the Russians, and I don't think, in general, any diplomat's time should be wasted, including the U.S. wasting more time trying to talk to the Iranians. It's quite clear that there is absolutely going to be no progress to be had with either of these groups, so the talks ought to stop. But I actually hear, at this moment, I heard it through the grapevine, that apparently we actually have breaking news coming out at this very moment. And so, oh my goodness, Matthew, please, go ahead and break the news.
Okay, so we do have a breaking news story right now in the middle of the stream. This is something that's apparently happening right now, right this second. We've gotten some conflicts breaking out between the Thai and Cambodian troops. That's happening right this second. Border clashes are breaking out, and there's reports of artillery use alongside small arms fire. So we could be seeing the beginning stages of a new conflict that's heating up right now between the Thai and Cambodian troops. We're also hearing as well that apparently it's near the Thai Muyen Tom area, and once again, more reports of artillery fire in the area. And apparently, in response to escalating hostilities, Thailand has initiated a communications blackout concerning troop movements and equipment movements, indicating the situation is not isolated, and it's also not a very quick issue. It's apparently going to go on for some time now that they're having a communications blackout. So that is what we're hearing right now. Also, there has been a possible UAV sighting in the area as well on the border, but that's all the info we have right now. But believe it or not, we're seeing a potential another war breaking out in the midst of every other major incident happening with the world on fire. Potentially another war breaking out here near Cambodia. So quite wild. But Enforcer, can you tell us more?
I've never in my days thought that Thailand would go to war with anyone, or be the receiver of a war with anyone. But that is actually quite interesting. I'll be entirely honest with y'all. I'm completely ignorant of the situation between Thailand and Cambodia, so I'll have to do a little bit of quick reading on that, most likely tomorrow, to see exactly what's going on with this, because that seems a little bit odd. I just don't really know of any border tensions that have been publicly known that have existed between Thailand and Cambodia. Well, interesting. I'll say that. If we're going to support a side, we're most likely going to support Thailand, because I believe that the United States actually has some bases that are in Thailand. Let me check that. U.S. overseas bases. Let's see. I know that we historically had some overseas military bases in Thailand, but let us check. Actually, we have one in Cambodia. Well, where in the world did all the ones go that we had in Thailand? We had some in Thailand during the Vietnam War. Anyways, huh. So, interesting enough, Cambodia also doesn't have a... Well, what was this one showing? Because that shows a base in Cambodia.
So also, by the way, Enforcer, I see a lot of people asking, also you asked the same question, why would they be fighting, the Cambodians and Thailand? Why would that be happening? So it looks like most likely the case, because right now we're not getting official statements from either government right now, but most likely it would be a border dispute over the Preah Vihar Temple, which apparently sits on the border between the two countries, and apparently that's been a long time source of conflict between the two. They've been disputing who owns it, basically, and this could be maybe nationalist groups which are stirring up problems here, maybe this conflict. But the problem is, though, we're hearing artillery fire, at least reports of artillery fire, which indicates that some heavy forces may be involved in this as well. And also, Thailand has initiated the communications blackout about troops and equipment movements, indicating they're deploying forces. So I don't know. This is a pretty quick one right here. Like this has got sprung on us pretty quick. I wasn't expecting this. Like literally, this was not even remotely on the bingo card. So I don't know. Like I'll have to do some research on this one as well. But it sounds like it's probably over a border dispute about a temple very close to both countries' border.
You know, it's actually a little bit interesting to me here, Matthew. I keep saying every single map has a different answer for how many U.S. military bases are in the world and also where they are. So it looks like possibly there is a military base that the U.S. has in Cambodia and Thailand, or that they might not have a base in either, or that they might have a base in just Cambodia or just Thailand, or we might not even be in the area. So I can't really tell at all what military bases we currently have inside of Thailand right now or Cambodia. So I actually cannot tell you which side the US would be supporting, because if a country has a military base inside of it from the United States, by default we generally support that side in any sort of a situation. So unfortunately, I'll have to look into this a whole lot more as time passes, most likely over the next day. But this is something that I did not expect to hear over the course of the night. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that well, and it does appear that some sort of a border skirmish about a temple directly on the border, and we'll have to see how that ends up turning out. I have a feeling that with how everything turns out in the world these days, this might be a next possible flashpoint for the Third World War, but hopefully not. Hopefully this will just end up being something small, like a small border skirmish, and be left at what it is. But moving on from that...
Oh, wait a minute. I've actually gotten footage. We believe it or not, we actually have footage of this incident right now coming out literally 2 minutes ago. I can't believe that. I was not expecting to get footage of this, but let's take a look in Forcer. I just reposted it, allegedly showing the border situation between Thailand and Cambodia. So let's take a look.
Well, that's definitely artillery.
Oh. That is heavy.
That is very heavy bombardment. Whose army is this? I feel like this is Cambodia's. Like, I can't tell, though. But that is some
that's not isolated, man. That is not isolated at all. I was expecting to hear maybe one or two artillery blasts, but that's like continuous fire right there. That's pretty serious.
So this actually does look to be Cambodia's armed force. Let me pull up the flag of Cambodia to make sure. Because I know the flag of Thailand, but I don't even know. I mean, is that like a sideways flag of Cambodia right there? Because it kind of like lines up a little. I don't know. But I feel like this is the let's see. And then this post doesn't say which force we're looking at. So let me look a little bit more through the clip. So there's got to be some sort of a giveaway as to whose forces these are. I cannot tell. Let me go check this, because I want to make sure that we're saying who these are. Cambodian Army forces. Let me see if I can find us a modern picture of the Cambodian army, because if the camouflage matches up, that'll give us a little bit.
The chat seems to believe it's the Cambodian army we were looking at. Like, it looks like the majority opinion here is Cambodia.
Thai army uniform. Let's see here. I don't. Let's see here. Let me check their camouflage pattern again. So it's black, brown, green, and light green.
Oh, whoa,
Different
whoa,
pattern,
whoa!
yeah.
We've got hold on. I've got more footage right now showing it appears to be impacts on the street. Looks like the Cambodians launched attacks on Thai army positions. So let's take a look at this one.
Well, that's him last fire, actually. Bro, this guy's taking a selfie in the middle of all this? Like, he's... So
that's the Cambodians firing that MLRS or the grad right there, apparently at the Thai side.
So what we were originally watching in that first clip was the Thai army being bombarded, I guess.
I guess so. Based on that, unless they were returning fire, like I'm not really sure.
Let's see. Cambodia firing MLRS. This is confirmed to be Cambodian, apparently, so we'll put that down for now as a Cambodian MLRS. And because of that, let's listen. So those aren't fires, those are impacts. You can hear, like, the concussive impact. So we will go with this as the Thai army being bombarded. So Thai, let's see. Thai army under bombardment. So, there we go. And there we have it. So that's all we have at the moment. We're still getting more footage of this out at the moment. This literally just broke out apparently minutes ago. But it does appear that at this very time, there is a significant barrage happening. And also, let's see.
Oh, we got some more. This thing's actually breaking out. Like, this is not something that's small, it looks like. Right now, we're getting reports from a new report here from AZ Intel that residents are asked to shelter in place, prepare to evacuate in Phanom Dong Iraq area of Surin, Thailand, as the Thai military claims new encroachment by Cambodia. So that's the newest report we've got right now. So they're giving shelter in place orders, which indicates there is an active aggression by the Cambodian side, apparently, toward the Thailand side. So this appears to be breaking out pretty bad here. It's kind of hard to tell the exact scope of how bad this is going to get, but that's a bad sign.
So actually, this was very... I'm not going to lie, y'all. This is absolute coincidence, but this is actually where the offensive is going right now. And our markers are literally, that I was putting down on the map, they're about 20 miles off from like a rough estimate. So let me move these over to the center of this area right here. But let's see. Let's see. What was the name of that town again?
It was the
Iraq.
Phanom Dong Iraq area of Surin, Thailand.
Let's see here. Let me see if I can find... Okay, so all the cities are labeled in the native language, so this is going to be very hard to find. Okay, so wait a minute, hang on. Okay, so this is the area, Phanom Dong Iraq Hospital. It's right here. So actually, I need to move the markers back over because where they originally were, that was actually the right spot. So let me move them back over, and here we are. So actually, I was only 5 miles off. I don't know how that happened. That was actually an odd coincidence that I just put that down in the exact spot I happened to be in nearly. But outside of that, it does appear that right now there is a significant MLRS barrage that is being conducted by the Royal Cambodian Army. And this is also being followed by offensives of the Cambodian Armed Forces across what appears to be a demilitarized zone of a sort, because there's actually a significant wooded area along the Thai-Cambodian border, and they're now moving further into Thailand. So it actually appears that Cambodia is conducting, at this point, a border skirmish / armed invasion of a limited area of Thailand, at least at the moment.
So also, Enforcer, let's pull up that temple, which I speculated was most likely the cause of this border dispute, because right now it appears to be based on historical data between these two countries, between Thailand and Cambodia. It's most likely a border dispute over the Preha Vihar temple. So if you can find the location of that temple, let's see if it matches up with the current area of fighting and artillery fire, and that will give us a strong idea of if it is that temple that is the point of conflict here.
Let's see. This one?
No, I would just type it in if I were you. I put it in the chat.
Oh, okay. Let's see here. Let me see here. Let me copy that and paste that, folks, and we will find that quick. So let's put that in right there. Where is this? So this is actually a good ways over from where the fighting is at right now. The fighting is over here.
Oh, wow.
near the Phantom Dong Rock area, near the hospital, or at least within this general sector of this border. This temple is all the way over here.
Well, that's actually not good, actually, because I was thinking it would be close to that temple, since that is the historical point of conflict between those two countries. But considering the fact that this is happening pretty far away from that, this indicates it's a new issue, which could be much more serious than what we've already known. Because apparently, the border dispute over that known temple that is pointed out, that is something that flares up from time to time. But the fact that this is happening far away from that area could indicate this is much more serious. We're not even really sure what the flashpoint would be causing a conflict in the region that's currently breaking out. So it could be maybe nationalist groups. That's a possibility. It could be maybe two groups fighting between the two countries there that are independent of the government. Or it could be maybe something is flashing up between the national armies of each country. It's hard to tell.
Actually, Cambodia and Thailand have a very strong control of any armed forces or armed force groups inside their countries. So this is official action by the Cambodian government, most likely. This region, pretty much in former Indochina and Siam, is a very stable region, and there's not really a lot of armed militant groups that operate outside of the purview of the government, unless if it's Burma. Burma currently is embroiled in the civil war, but beyond that, any actions that are being conducted from the Cambodian side are being conducted by the Cambodian armed forces by the orders of their government. So this actually appears to be a direct armed action that has just broken out live on air, if y'all are here right now, which 12,000 of y'all are, between the Thai forces, who are on the defensive, and the Cambodian armed forces, which are currently on the offensive against the Thai forces right now. So very interesting to see, and it appears that we have a new conflict that is actually breaking out right now in the Southeast Asian region between the two. So
Now
bizarre.
let's get a influence check real quick, because I'm not super familiar with either one of these countries when it comes to their geopolitical standing. Is Cambodia or Thailand? Which one has ties to China? If we know that with some simple research, if we can find that out.
That's a good question. It probably would not be the Thai. It'd probably be the Cambodians. But let me think here. Thai-Chinese relations. So they have significant influence in Thailand. So let's put in Chinese-Cambodian relations. So it actually appears that China has stronger relations with both countries, at least.
Interesting. I was expecting there to be like one country that was highly favored by China and then one country that was favored more by the West, but it sounds like they're favored by China both almost equally, but based on the little articles you looked at there. So that would not seem to be the source of the conflict, at least. So that kind of adds more complication to it. Like, this is going to require some research here, because if China being the major like geopolitical actor in the region and the United States being the other actor that would generally be in this area, there doesn't seem to be a conflict, at least geopolitically, between the two powers there. So interesting. That honestly, this is a little bit fascinating at this point. If we had time to do research on it, I would say look deeper into it, but I think this is going to require some reading.
I'll be honest with y'all, I'm not a particular even a subject matter, not an expert, but more so knowledgeable on this particular region in Southeast Asia, at least in the modern age. But on the foreign policy side of things, I do know that Vietnam is economically significant to U.S. import trade for the larger part. But outside of that, I'm not really a big studier or really knowledgeable, for that matter, on Thailand, Cambodia, and Laos's relations with each other. So I'll have to look into that more tomorrow, because this is actually something that would be out of my purview specifically, and this is something that I actually didn't see coming. This is brand new, I think, to both Matthew and me, that this even happened at all. We didn't see this one coming. I don't really think anyone saw this coming, to be entirely honest, because it seems like this just started to happen and break out of the blue.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting this for sure. I wasn't even remotely expecting this right here. Now, I see some people in our chat that apparently are in Thailand. Let's see, Drop Nation is apparently there. He said, asking around, but no clue what's happening. It's kind of quiet right now. And I guess that would be expected. This is literally just happening, by the way. Like, I don't even think major news outlets have reported on this yet. This is super new. We're probably the first ones to report on it, actually, live on the stream right now. So I'm going to be waiting very patiently to get some more information. Let me go check right now and see if my sources have any more information because I'm actually very fascinated about what's happening. We've got more footage. I cannot believe it. This is pretty fast footage coming out of there. So I've reposted one of them, Enforcer. And let's see. I'm trying to get some more information here. So I've got a post here from Geo Insider, which is a very reliable source on Twitter and a friend of the channel as well. Geo Insider believes that a gunfight has erupted this morning on the Cambodia-Thailand border in the Adar Menchai province, and Thai troops are reportedly opening fire, prompting a counteroffensive by Cambodian forces, and Cambodia says it acted in self-defense after an unprovoked Thai incursion violated its territorial integrity. So, based on that, and this is early information, so it may be corrected later, but right now, Geo Insider is apparently saying that this is likely the case. It sounds like this is a pretty serious border incursion here, which is pretty much sparked a larger situation in that province, which we looked at on the map there. So that is pretty serious. But unfortunately, let's take a look at that video, though, because that apparently shows some more of the artillery fire going off.
Unfortunately, this video is not playing for some reason on my end. It's endlessly loading, so I don't...
Try refreshing, because it's playing on my end.
It doesn't appear to be playing on my end, and for some reason my computer is kind of getting a little picky about what it wants to play. So I don't think we will be able to play this one at the moment, because...
Darn it.
Yeah, no matter what, this thing is not playing. I don't know what it is. I refreshed and updated everything on my computer, and still, there are some videos on Twitter that just do not want to play. But outside of that, it does appear that at the moment there is apparently some sort of a gunfight that erupted. We're gonna. It appears that there's actually a lot that's been going on at a simmer that's now turning into a boil right now that we're gonna have to get into and start covering here soon. But it appears that there's an entire border war that's now going on between Thailand and Cambodia. And, well, it originally started apparently as a border skirmish. It's now a border war, and this may turn into a full-scale war if it continues to de-evolve like it is right now. So, very interesting sort of occurrence with that, and hopefully we will be able to find some more answers as to why this is going on and what's happening between the two countries. But with that in mind, I do want to make sure that we get through the rest of our news coverage for the rest of the night. We still have a lot to go, and I want to make sure that we get to all the big stuff that has also happened elsewhere in the world, so we're going to be dropping that for now and just covering that tomorrow. And moving on from that and into the United States of America, we have been able to hear that there has been high pizza traffic near the White House, showing that staff inside of the White House are hard at work on something. We're not entirely sure. We've also been able to hear that the United States is dropping any further attempts to persuade the Iranians into nuclear talks. Moving on from that and on into Germany, we have been able to hear that the Germans want guarantees to be able to provide their Patriots to the Ukrainians and to also get some replacements in return from the United States. Meanwhile, the Russian Federation is also conducting one of the largest naval exercises that we've seen in a while, as the Russians have launched a significant naval exercise near to the borders of Poland, Japan, and also in the Arctic, with over 30 vessels, including submarines, aircraft, and missile systems, all taking part in these military exercises. This is an incredibly significant one, and does appear to be showing that the Russian Federation is attempting to show off its abilities to be able to conduct larger naval actions, while also being embroiled in a very significant ground conflict with Ukraine. Outside of that, and finally moving into Ukraine itself, we have been able to hear of some small Ukrainian attacks that were conducted inside of the Crimean Peninsula, including the city of Simferopol, which we were able to confirm was hit, as smoke was rising from a military facility in the area. And we also were able to see in other clips that Sevastopol was confirmed to have been under attack earlier in the day, and we also got some video and picture evidence showing a fire near to an airbase just outside of Sevastopol. Moving on from those clips and outside of Crimea, we have also been able to hear within the Sochi and Adler area that the armed forces of Ukraine have been able to conduct an incredibly significant attack against the cities of Sochi and Adler. These attacks were incredibly large, and we were able to get an endless stream of video and picture evidence confirming the attack, the impacts, the strikes on the targets, and also the subsequent fire and damage that was caused in both of these cities.
Вот, в районе Роснефти. Вот. Заправка Роснефть на кольце, где Подкова. Попали.
And we also have another clip. That thing is toasting.
Damn, they've got it good out there. Look at that.
Look at
so
that,
much for air
multiple
defense.
fires. Man, where'd the air defense at?
Don't they have S-300 and S-400 around this region, I thought?
Yes, they do, actually. This is one of the few areas
I guess it didn't work.
Well, do you want to know?
Yes.
Well, I'll show you. There were some S-300s in operation in the area. Here's one of them. And as you see an interception right there. So yes, there are some S-300s within this area, and S-400s. Maybe even an S-350. But one thing that is more interesting is that there were quite a decent amount of failures of these SAM systems, which I'll show y'all right here. This is a S-300 missile. It hit the ground and blew up.
Oh. That's a terrible system, honestly. I can kind of see why countries like Turkey might want to rethink that.
Yeah, I think so. Bro, they got the bucket brigade out there. It's like the 1800s again. But moving on.
This was the damage from the failed air defense missile right there in that video?
Yes, it
Damn.
was. Bro, those things carry a lot of, like, explosives on board, man. They're designed to literally pretty much destroy any sort of fighter aircraft outright. You know, in a fighter aircraft these days, like an F-16 or an F-15, those things in length are about the length of a B-17 Flying Fortress. So, like, they're quite large, actually. So you have to have a decent amount of explosives to literally be able to vaporize one of those if you want to. And also, I have to point out that the Russians are also great with operational security, because look at this video.
What?
They actually filmed the launch site of one of the air defense systems around the city. Look, isn't this neat?
Сочи бомбят, я не понимаю, должны Россию Во! А Сочи что не Россия?
Oh my god, it's our air defense! They're probably terrified it's going to fail.
Смотрите! Смотри, видишь? Это рядом. Это ракета.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, please.
When the
but
Russians see air defense, they're a little confused. They're like, first of all, they're shocked that air defense is actually near their area because it's super rare. And number two, they're worried as hell that things are going to actually seek them out instead of the missile.
Bro, honestly, dude, like that's why they gasp, because it's like it's a hit or a miss whether that thing's going to stop whatever's going to blow them up or whether the missile's going to be the one that blows them up. But we can see here an impact inside of Sochi. Take a look at this. I guess the Sochi Winter Olympics has no place here because it looks like the Ukrainians are keeping Sochi warm.
Попали.
New sport, missile dodging.
Man, new sport, skeet shooting, but with S-300s
Попали.
and Ukrainian long-range
Взрыв
drones.
здания.
This is the
Сирена,
S-300
слышь,
toss.
Ладно, Санька, главное, спит. Я слышал жужжание это.
Bro, a classic area defense siren off in the distance. Man, really giving that apocalyptic vibe. We also got to see another clip. Once again from Sochi, by the way. This isn't from Adler. Why is it stopping? Keep playing. I request it. Please, keep playing.
Ебать, совхозе, пиздец.
Oh, was that machine gun fire?
А, это машина едет.
Oh, it's getting louder. Oh,
Ебать.
yeah, but Looks like it was
Нефтебаза
a hit.
въебала. Пизда. Ебать.
well, let's move on down to Adler. I'm sure it wasn't any worse down there, right? Well, it was. We hear some air defense fire. Oh! Oh, mama! Mamma mia! Sounds like someone out here is about to turn into into Bohemian Rhapsody. They're up here on this balcony going, "Mama, ooh!" Like, bro. Блажал, блажа. От твою мать, КамАЗ, блядь.
Идите, соберите свои документы все. Идите, собрайте документы.
Moving on from that, here's another clip.
Летит.
Oh, look, it's an S-300.
Пиздец. Все, прилетели, походу.
Oh. Oh. Oh, твою мать.
Это ракета, это уже ракета летит.
Awful.
Dude, he said, dude, at the end of the clip, he literally said, that's a rocket. That's a like, that's what he was saying in Russian, dude. He said, это ракета. It's like, bro, it's like, yeah, I think we could tell. I think we could tell it's a rocket. But here's another clip.
Сейчас забьют.
Попадет?
Да.
That means yes.
Красавчик!
Bro, it's just the local gopniks all hanging out, smoking cigs, drinking vodka, watching S-300s overhead. Bro, typical evening in Sochi and Adler.
Ебать, там все горит просто. Плавится. Охуеть.
There's the impacts off in the
Вон
distance. You
там,
can kind of see the
на
smoldering
камеру
a
не
little
видно,
bit.
там пламя. Снизу, ебать. Гостевой дом еще вроде погорел. Это пиздец.
It's a bad day in Russia when they start having a 4th of July. It's not even their Independence Day.
Bro, it ain't even Independence Day, but I'm telling you, man, those fuel depots be cooking off like they are. This clip, sadly, is not playing. We're going to be moving on from that. Don't know what's going on with that these days, folks. It's really kind of getting on my nerves. But here's a duplicate clip that actually shows it. And I got a duplicate clip just in case the first one failed. Bro, this guy turned into a cowboy. Like,
you don't get to say that. That's my trademark.
Bro, this dude, this guy was sitting there, whoop to your mind, this sounds here. Bro, it hits, he goes, yeah, looks like the boys are back on the fire. Like, it's like, bro, he turned into a redneck. He turned into a redneck when the explosion happened. What the hell? This guy might be the local tweaker, honestly.
I think so, man. He's moving with that crocodile.
Bro, he said, that Smirnoff and Wesson got me moving like an invasive species, but like
He's out of breath from looking at it. He's tired now. He's got to go take a rest.
Oh my god, dude. Let's watch this one more time.
Ой, буца тарафта, блядь. Я твой все ебал, блядь. Твой все я ебал.
That was a hard day's work for this Russian. He had a hard day looking at that one.
Call me a crocodile the way my blood will be coursing with crocodile. Like, bro, that's this guy right here, man. Like, honestly. But moving on from that, and on out of the area of Sochi and Adler, I think I can tell that the area was hit very badly. But moving on from that and on out of the area, it's time for us to make it on into Ukraine itself. Because we have a lot of news coming out of Ukraine, big and small. Moving on up into the Kursk area, we got to see some Russian forces getting hit. We're going to be muting that clip right there. But we could see the Ukrainian drone coming in, and it's ready to pay Papa Russia a visit.
Oh, look, it's from the Pentagon.
Oh, look at that. It's from the Pentagon. You know, folks, I you know, whenever we see like a tweaker Russian like that, I had to start laughing like Dr. Livesey. If y'all have ever seen that Russian cartoon before, where he's like, oh, you know, like that for like the whole show. It's like, it's weird. It's actually freaky. Have you ever seen that, Matthew? Like the Dr. Livesey thing?
I'm afraid I have not.
Okay, so maybe it's just because I went to try and figure out what the hell the Russians are about, but they actually made this animated movie in the Soviet Union called Treasure Island. It was made in 1988 towards the collapse of the Soviet Union, but it is it's bizarre because the character creation was to say the least rough. But yeah, but this guy has like a freaky laugh. Like, he's just there the whole show. Every time he pops up, he's like, oh, it's like, bro, it's the creepiest thing ever. But, you know, he does have this strut thing going on that's like a meme material. I'm sure you've seen that, maybe, at some point.
I think so.
Yeah, it was a big thing for a while. But outside of that, this cartoon is creepy. It stays in my head, and the laugh is bizarre. But moving on from that, and on into the location unknowns, we also got to see a Ford Super Duty MLRS in the Ukrainian army. It goes hard, extremely. I mean, look at that, man. The amazing structure of the Ford paired with the amazing firepower of a 127mm MLRS. There's nothing greater than this. This is as American as it gets, Matthew. This is what the Founding Fathers intended.
This is that exact model of like a Power Stroke that I think the sanitation department uses in America.
I think so. And I guess you could say the Ukrainians are also using it for sanitation. If you get my gist.
Cleaning up.
They're cleaning them up. But we also got to see some Russians filming their burning positions.
Ёбаный, твари, блядь. Да, конечно, я же говорил, там малое, все было, я до этого приходил. Ёбана рот.
Toasting like a good campfire.
Все. Все, брат. Холодос надо посмотреть. Скобы уцелели, гвозди, да? Мультитул. Мультитул уцелел. Ну, более-менее. Я горячо. Ну тут все погрелось, братан.
I like how he listened to the burn box. He's like, no way, everything's burned in there.
Все горячее. Можно принимать пищу. Толчок зато, сука, не тронули, блин.
They didn't bomb the Russian toilet that they stole out of someone's house. Blessed be they. But moving on from that, we also have the Russian casualty report over the past 24 hours, and sadly no Bobcats, but Miss DC Keeper of the Record said a lower loss day, but close to current averages. Drones losses in July to date exceed all of June, and that is, of course, great to hear. But over the past 24 hours, we've been able to confirm that 970 Russian soldiers were wounded and killed over the past 24 hours, along with 2 APCs, 88 supply trucks, 3 main battle tanks, 42 artillery pieces, 115 drones, 1 MLRS, and that was it for the day. Still, not a bad day, but not the largest day that we've seen in recent weeks. Moving on from that and up into the Kupiansk area, we did get to see a Russian river crossing being destroyed by the 412th Regiment of the Unmanned Systems, which we can see in this clip right here. They drop the bomb in the pontoon bridge, and the pontoon becomes a spittoon. Oh my god, that was actually pretty significant. But there goes the bridge, and it's going to be down and out for quite some time. But moving on from that clip and further down the line and into the area of the old front lines of Chasiv Yar and Konstantinivka, we also got to see some Russians being targeted and hit within this area by none other than the Phoenix unit. And they, of course, rose from the ashes, like the great rising of the Phoenix. And we see them bringing in the drone. It's almost like some sort of a slideshow, almost. But we can see them hitting the Russians, even through the slideshow. The hit was successful. And we see them bringing in another drone to hit a couple of Russians hiding below a burnt-out T-80 BVM. And Brian Blairstown said, how many main battle tanks can Russia have left? Not that many. There can't really be a lot more left at this point. I'm assuming maybe several hundred, like probably in the higher hundreds, near to 600 or 700 or so, but it's not a lot left, especially compared to their pre-war numbers that they had on paper. It's a non-existent figure at this point. And that's the end of that clip right there. But moving on from that and on into the next one, further down the line, towards Tokarakove, we also got to see some Russian forces getting hit in this clip as well. Take a look. We see the drone coming in and hitting that Russian position. And also a little artillery piece. And also another little artillery piece. And another. And also, Matt, we already covered the naval drills. So it was a while ago. It was up in the Baltics, and it was kind of quick. But moving on from that, we also got to see them hitting Russian forces as well, which we were able to see in this clip right here. But before we get on into this video, since it's a little bit of a lengthy one, a lot of people have been talking about those Russian naval drills, which are some of the largest that we've seen in years so far. And a lot of people are talking about it. Matthew, what are you thinking about it? And what's everyone else thinking about it as well?
All right, so to ask the question, we apparently did cover this earlier in the stream here, but it says Russia has launched its largest naval drills in years, and it's apparently threatening the NATO alliance directly, and what do you think? It's a pretty evenly split poll, actually. It looks like 31% said it's a direct threat to NATO forces, while another 31% said it seems like war preparations by Russia, and 29% said it's totally normal military drills. And based on what I could tell, it's a very large naval deployment by Russia. But of course, it does appear to be within the confines of a normal military drill. So I'm going to say it probably is a combination between a normal one, a normal military drill, just a very large one, and also a subtle threat to NATO forces. But it really doesn't change much of anything, except for the Russians want to make their presence known. But we already knew they were there, so it really doesn't change much of anything. So I'm kind of like on the fence. But Enforcer, what say you?
I'd have to say that, in my opinion, it's a direct threat to NATO forces, as it's pretty much simulating a full-out conflict with the greater Western world and attempting to engage in naval combat with them. So, in my opinion, I do believe it is a direct threat to NATO forces, as it is showing that they are militarily preparing in the future to spring forward those very sorts of doctrinal practices and tactics that they are trying out at this moment right now. So I would say that I would be with 31% that said it is a direct threat to NATO forces, generally because of the threats it could pose in the future. But with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. And with that, it's time for us to check out the Ukrainian Tivas artillery group destroying Russian forces near Velika Novosilka. And we're going to be muting that, but we can see a little Russian attack column right here.
Also, by the way, I've got some more breaking news coming out, by the way, about Cambodia and Thailand. This situation is getting heated. It's actually popping off more and more as the night's going on. So when we get done with these videos right here, let's do a quick recap on that, because I do have actually several pieces of breaking news to cover.
Oh, well, we will have to make sure to get to it here quite soon, folks, because we are hearing that apparently there's a little war breaking out between Thailand and Cambodia at the moment. And also, Matthew, I have some additional stuff to add on there for you. That I just saw trying to get over to the account really quickly. But we are seeing here that the Russian BMPs are being targeted and destroyed near to the area of Velika Novosilka, as the attack is pretty much being turned around by the artillery and drone forces. We can see that the Ukrainian artillery is using cluster rounds, which are generally effective against lighter armored vehicles like the BMPs. And we can now see that the BMPs have actually gotten into a full-up roaring flame. We can also see a large group of the Russian soldiers involved in the attack were wounded and killed as well. We can then see in this clip more Russian attacks that are being conducted within the area that are also being hit pretty heavily. And we can already see here that another attack column is soon to be targeted and destroyed by the 148's artillery. We can see some anonymous guy down there in the corner. He appears to be an anonymous man. But the actions that the Ukrainians are conducting against the Russians certainly aren't anonymous. They're clear and forward. And we see them continuing to slam the Russian forces. And a decent amount of their armored vehicles once again on fire as the attack has once again failed. But generally, we're going to be cutting through this clip a little bit quickly because we are starting to run overtime, and we also have more breaking news coming out from the Cambodia-Thailand region. So, Matthew, what do we got?
Okay, so right now we are apparently seeing an escalation of the tensions between Thailand and Cambodia. We are seeing a ramping up of the fighting right now. We're getting footage coming out of the area, apparently showing, looks like soldiers engaging in small arms fire with one another. So they're clearly engaging in battles, it looks like, not just with artillery, but also gun-to-gun battles. So we're seeing that. And also, by the way, we just got a post here from Guy Elster on Twitter that says Thailand has asked its nationals in Cambodia to leave the country after the border clash. So Thailand is telling its citizens to leave the country of Cambodia and get out immediately. So that is definitely heating up. Also, by the way, we're getting some more information about the story. Apparently, at least according to the Khmer Times, which appears to be a news outlet out of the area, they're claiming the Thai armed forces launched an unprovoked assault against Cambodian troops first, stationed near one of the monasteries or the temples. And apparently the Cambodians responded, and then the Thai responded again. So they're claiming that the Thai forces started this whole thing. But right now, that's just a claim by one newspaper, so we're going to have to wait and see. But unfortunately, we have a ton of footage here showing the firefight. So we might want to take a look at some of that and show just how widespread this is getting.
Got you. So we're going to be starting off with the first clip, which appears to be showing Cambodian soldiers actually engaging in a firefight with Thai forces across the border.
Đó, lên đó. Đó. Lên đó. 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 Dạ thông.
Oh, is that an RPG?
Dạ thông đó, dạ thông.
Oh, they're pulling out some heavier weaponry.
Wow.
We also hear rounds kind of like flying a little close nearby. You actually hear the snap of them.
Dạ đó, dạ thông.
This guy's got some high elevation to that thing. It's taking a while to shoot it as well. And he finally fired it. And the audio was delayed like 3 seconds.
Oh, good.
But that's the end of that clip. And moving on to the next one, this is more footage from the Cambodian side of the firefights breaking out. I'm not gonna lie, dude, those hats make them look like Mao's revolutionaries from the Chinese Civil War.
I tell you what, also, like Old Warrior said, these are some old trenches right here. Very old looking.
Yeah, they are. Like, you know, they don't look new, that's for sure. Here comes the shelling, apparently from the Thai forces. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, they're not doing a lot for themselves to say that they escaped, like, the era of the Khmer Rouge, because this literally looks like the same kind of bandanas and also scarves that the Khmer Rouge would wear. I don't really know a lot about modern Cambodian culture, but I do know of the era of Pol Pot. This looks a lot like something a revolutionary of Pol Pot's would wear. But anyways.
Also, I see some folks mentioning some videos apparently showing one of the sides firing rockets at the other side. They are using, I believe it's the BM-21. Let me scroll back. I was trying to find it real quick.
It looks like an RM-70 Vampire, from what I could see, which would be generally checkmate. Let me see.
So it's the BM-21 Grad is apparently the vehicle they're using. I do have a still image of it, which there's no need to actually like show that one. It's pretty simple. We've seen those before, but it looks like that's what they're launching at the Cambodian side. It appears like.
Huh, interesting. Because I was seeing it, and it looked kind of like an RM-70 earlier. They're pretty much the same. It's just that the actual vehicle that carries the rocket launcher is different. But here's the next clip.
And also, like Quick said in the live chat, they said this is broken out in multiple different areas on the border. It's not isolated. That is true. From what I can gather, and I'm trying to gather this on the fly while we're on the air, it looks like this is not isolated. It looks like this is spreading along the border. So, you know, and obviously they're pulling out some RPGs. They're pulling out small arms, artillery. They're pulling out quite a bit of machinery here to go at each other. And this is a back and forth. This is not something that's been a one-time and one-off incident. This is something that's escalating between the two. So I think this could turn into something larger.
It possibly could. But those are the end of the clips that we have so far. And also, really quickly, Matthew, do we have the... So, let me check this really quickly, because are these supposedly the Cambodian rocket forces right here?
I believe so.
So let's pull up Cambodian Army equipment to figure out exactly what that is, because I was thinking it was a RM-70 Vampire, which is this, but maybe it is a BM-21. So let's see what rocket artillery they have at their disposal. So, see military trucks and support vehicles, engineering support, light utility, anti-tank, artillery. So here we go. So they do not have any... Well, actually, they do, actually. They have 200 BM-21s in the service, and they also have 50 RM-70 Vampires. So it could have been either, because they actually technically use the same rocket launching platform. the BM-21 uses the same MLRS tube and launch system as the RM-70. The only difference is the vehicle that carries the launcher. This is based off of a Tatra, and the Grad is based off of a Ural for the large part. So that's really the only difference, but we can confirm it's the same rocket launcher type for either, and it is a 127mm rocket being used, but we do not know exactly which type it is, whether it's an RM-70 or a BM-21, because I saw someone earlier say it was an RM-70, and from what I could tell, it looked like it might have been, because it looked like it may have been a flat-fronted truck, but it may also be a BM-21. They're practically identical beyond the vehicle, so beyond the vehicle that carries the launcher itself. So we will have to see. Oh, go ahead.
Now get this. This is not good news at all. There are casualties coming out right now. We're getting casualty reports coming out of Thailand. According to a local official, at least 2 Thai civilians have been killed in Cambodian shelling. So we have apparently 2 confirmed dead on the Thailand side right now. The Taiwanese, no, not the Taiwanese, but the Thailand side, the Thai side. That's what I'm trying to say. But also, by the way, we are hearing, like I said earlier, this fighting is spreading among multiple different flashpoints along the Thai-Cambodian border, and a senior Cambodian officer is saying that troops remain in control and are fighting back with precision, but the Cambodian prime minister is now urging calm, and they're calling on citizens to trust the armed forces amid the rising tensions. Apparently, we're getting reports that the civilians on the border are panicking, as there have been deaths among the civilians. So it looks like there's it appears to be maybe a humanitarian issue going on the border as well, where people are either running or they're freaking out or something. They're not trusting in the Cambodian armed forces, apparently, because the prime minister's had to come out and reassure them that they're going to be okay. So right now, I'm trying to scan my back channel sources right now, because I don't have a whole bunch of them in that region, because we typically don't cover that. But from what I can tell in the back channels, it looks like they're ramping this thing up, because it looks like they're sending in more reinforcements. And Force, I'm not sure if you saw that brand new video at the top I just reposted, but that's a brand new one.
And let's take a look at this one right here as well. We can see a load of RPGs. It appears to be RPG-7s that the Cambodian forces are preparing to fire at the Thai forces across the border. And also here is some sort of rifle fire. They're very calm about this whole thing. But that was the end of that clip, but still showing us a little bit of the action of the skirmishes at the border at the moment. But with that, while we wait for more news to come out on that situation, we are going to be getting to the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky, because we are starting to go heavily overtime tonight, and I want to make sure that we knock out all of our actual news before we get on into this breaking news that is continuing to break out while we are live. So without further ado, here is the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine on day 1246 of the war. So without further ado, here's the speech. Peach!
Бажаю здоров'я, шановні українці. Кілька речей за цей день. Зараз в Туреччині вже тривають зустрічі нашої команди. Початок з турецькою стороною в Анкарі. Ключові безпекові речі, які так важливі для наших країн. Щогодинні доповіді. Розраховуємо, що сьогоднішня подальша можливість на зустрічі з російською стороною в Стамбулі. Можливість зробити правильні кроки не буде змарновано. Ми налаштовані далі працювати для звільнення наших людей з російського полону, для повернення наших українських дітей, для реального припинення вогню. Пріоритет – підготовка зустрічі лідерів. І у нашої делегації є необхідна сила для цього. Директиви для обговорення основних питань. Сьогодні ж увесь день підготовка нового етапу обміну. Ми чекаємо наших вдома. Дуже важливо, що попри всі складнощі українці повертаються додому. І по кожному прізвищу проводимо перевірки. Шукаємо всю інформацію. Було вже немало випадків, коли хлопці були в списках зниклих безвісті, але ми їх знаходили в полоні. Щоразу ми все це дуже уважно перевіряємо. Звісно, було багато нарад з урядовцями, з представниками правоохоронних органів. Фактично, саме з цього почався мій день. дуже детально говорили СБУ, НАБУ, САП, МВС, НАЗК, ДБР, Генеральний прокурор України. Мені важливо було, щоб кожен дав свої аргументи, своє бачення. Важливо, що вони сказали і одне одному те, що давно накопичувалось. Дуже ціную домовленість про командну роботу, про подальшу спільну роботу та про заходи, які можуть реально дати відчуття невідворотності покарання, а отже, справедливості в Україні. Ми домовились, що керівники інституцій разом запропонують план дій, план конкретних кроків, які можуть зміцнити силу права в Україні. Звісно, усі почули те, що кажуть люди цими днями. Що кажуть люди в соціальних мережах, один одному на вулицях. Це все недаремно. Проаналізували всі занепокоєння, всі аспекти того, що варто змінити і що має бути активізовано. Я запропоную Верховній Раді України законопроект, який буде відповіддю, який забезпечить силу в системі правопорядку і не буде жодного російського впливу чи втручання в діяльність органів правопорядку. І, що дуже важливо, всі норми для незалежності антикорупційних інституцій будуть. І дуже очікую від самої нашої групи керівників правоохоронних та антикорупційних органів, від Генерального прокурора України конкретних пропозицій, тих норм, які мають спрацювати. Це буде президентський законопроект. І ми реалізуємо це в рамках нашої стратегії трансформації держави. Сьогодні ж я підписав указ про скорочення бюрократичних процедур і проведення негайного аудиту державних видатків. Я очікую від уряду України протягом місяця конкретних результатів, щоб направити максимум наших державних ресурсів на оборону України, на стійкість нашої держави. І також готуємо відчутні кроки щодо дерегуляції, щоб дати більше свободи людям. Ми все це точно зробимо. І я дякую всім, хто підтримує. І залишиться найголовніше – не втратити єдність країни, закінчити цю війну, зупинити це російське зло і забезпечити Україні достойний мир. І саме так, як всі ми це бачимо, повноправною частиною Європи. Ми зробимо це. Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
And with that, that is the end of the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky here on day 1246 of the War News stream. And that's going to be moving us on into the second part of the stream where we get to talk to each and every one of y'all and get to cover a little bit of breaking news as it continues to come out at this point. But, of course, I want to make it clear that at this moment, you shouldn't be expecting a lot of news to be coming out. It's not going to be endless rapid-fire news like we've been having for the first 2 hours and 11 minutes of the show. It's generally going to be questions and maybe some news sprinkled in here and there if it's coming out at the moment. But, of course, I do want to say a big thanks to everyone who's been watching so far. We had a peak viewership tonight of 13.9 thousand people, and so far 110,000 people have watched the stream. I've always got to say that we are honored and very appreciative of each and every one of y'all watching and enjoying this channel greatly, and a huge thanks to everyone who's hit the like button as well, because we've actually gotten up to 3,500 likes tonight, which is incredibly impressive. And so, without further ado, Matthew, take us away. Take us away.
All right, so jumping into our final question segment of the night, we are fresh out of polls, and it's time to jump right back into our super chat questions. But in the meantime, though, I am scanning all my different sources to find out what is happening and how fast the Cambodia-Thailand situation is escalating. And right now, all I'm seeing basically is a ton of videos coming out showing massive gunfire exchanges on the border in multiple different locations. So The only thing we can pretty much count on at this point is this is not going to end quickly. It looks like it will go on for at least 24 hours, at least in my opinion, and it does appear to be a pretty large situation. So it's not something that's just to be overlooked. It is going to probably escalate a little bit more, but where it goes exactly, that is a question. But one thing that is certain, though, is apparently Cambodia is fielding Chinese-made weaponry in their fight against Thailand. So we're going to see here how this equipment holds up in a real-world fight in between these two countries here. Depending on how bad this escalates, we might see it being used in the most extreme scenarios. So right now, we're seeing the first uses of it. But Enforcer, since you know a little bit more about the history side of it, will this be the first conflict that modern Chinese weaponry is used in that we're aware of?
Technically, there was some Chinese weaponry that was used in the Gulf War in 1991, and generally by the Iraqi armies up until the invasion of Iraq by U.S. forces in 2003, which would lead to the collapse of the Iraqi army and the Ba'athist-led Iraqi government. So there was some Chinese weaponry used there. There was also some Chinese aircraft used in the border war between Pakistan and India recently, which also would classify as a use of Chinese weaponry. But in a full sense, I don't think we've seen an armed force that's completely integrated Chinese military equipment into it, using it. And let me check that really quickly, Cambodian army equipment. And let's see. Okay, so they got some pistols. Ew, that is literally... that is either a Tokarev... hold up. What is this based off of? This is clearly based off of a Tokarev. No question about it. And these things are so ugly. Ew. Anyways, moving on from that. Let's see. Ew.
Ew. That is hideous, honestly, right there. That's a Chinese-made weapon?
This is the Chinese 85 type.
Ugh. They didn't even really bother to give it a name. Honestly, it doesn't look like it's deserving of a name. It's a pretty rough-looking thing. Also, by the way, Enforcer, while you're still looking at this right here to learn about this, I just want to address something real quick. People were saying, which side is China going to take if they had to take a side between Thailand and Cambodia? It's honestly kind of hard to tell because, like the Enforcer mentioned earlier, China has a vested strategic interest in both of those countries, which makes this situation very unique. So it's not going to be like a blatantly obvious choice. Like, we can't just say with certainty they're going to go for Cambodia or Thailand. I would tend to believe that they're probably going to lean toward Cambodia, but that's just a guess. So that's pretty much worth nothing until we have some more evidence to back that up. But it's going to be kind of hard to tell. And also, I'm trying to figure out where the U.S.'s loyalties lie between these two countries. That's kind of hard to figure out as well. I'm trying to do some research in the background while the Enforcer looks at this to figure out which country the U.S. would probably want to back up, if any at all.
I would probably say, just taking a shot in the dark, most likely Thailand over Cambodia, because Thailand poses a lot more strategic value than the Cambodians would. And I also believe that the Thai are a significant purchaser of U.S. military arms and equipment. So for those reasons, I think we'll side with Thailand more than Cambodia. But let me check. Holy moly. A Daewoo K7. I've never seen these in big numbers. So unique. Yeah, it's
Also, by the way, I did get some information here because, like I said, I'm not very knowledgeable about these two countries, so I'm having to do this on the fly. Tomorrow, we should have a much greater grasp of it, especially if it continues escalating. We'll do a lot more research on it. But it looks like between the U.S. and Thailand, there is a long-standing treaty. Apparently, we are formal military allies, the U.S. is with Thailand, under the 1954 Manila Pact and the 1977 U.S.-Thailand Defense Arrangement. So we actually have a commitment to defend Thailand. So if Cambodia keeps going at it and Thailand requests our assistance, then the U.S. should technically be helping Thailand. But, you know, under the current circumstances, it's hard to tell if that would be fulfilled or not. But it's technically the way it's supposed to work. So it looks like most likely what would happen, the U.S. would first offer intelligence, logistics, and probably diplomatic support to Thailand. Not necessarily troops. And in fact, I would say rule troops out off the bat. Like, most likely no troops heading to Thailand ever, but it would be weaponry at least.
You know, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I don't really think this is going to be a war worth watching, at least from the ground equipment side of things. Like, as far as, like, trying to get a gauge on how good Chinese equipment will do. Because all of the Chinese equipment that the Cambodians have is, like, 1960s era at best. Like, nothing is new. Like, even by Nixon went to China metrics of new, nothing is new. Everything's incredibly old. Like, they have some Type 79s, which are Dragunovs that are provided by Norinco. They have some. They have the Norinco QCA, but that's just an M4, and that's in apparently Special Forces use only. And then their main standard issue rifles are the Type 81, which has been around for a very long time as a kind of like a ripoff of the VC-58, and then they also have the Type 56, which is also a Chinese license-made AKM. Their tanks are antiquated. I mean, like, like the Russians are getting down to T-54s and T-55s right now. That's Cambodia's starting equipment, or T-54s and Type 59s, which are the Chinese T-54, so nothing to see there. Their light tanks are also Type 62s and Type 63s. Once again, nothing to see there. Those are quite literally from the 60s and late 50s. They have a load of BRDMs, but those are from the Soviets. The next Chinese thing they have are the YW-531s, which I think you and me can agree are really nothing that's going to be worth watching, like, for its performance. Nah. It's, that's rough. And then beyond that, they have some Dongfeng trucks, but trucks are trucks. It really is just more so their cross-country abilities that are different. And beyond that, there is literally nothing else of note that the Chinese have given them that would be worth looking at. Now, let me look at Thai military equipment really quickly, just to make sure we touch all the bases, to make sure I'm saying this correctly.
It looks like the general consensus is, I'm seeing a lot of U.S.-made stuff here. Like this is
P90s, wow.
Yeah, they've got a lot of Western stuff. Okay, so the way it looks, and also we're going to keep looking through the weapons list, but based on what I'm seeing in the majority opinion of analysts, it looks like if it came down between a fight between Cambodia or Thailand, Thailand would whoop Cambodia's ass pretty quick because they've got superior weapons, they've apparently got a superior military, and Cambodia really doesn't. They're using old Chinese equipment like we just looked at right there. So it looks like, and remember, right now Cambodia is claiming that Thailand aggressed on their country, but that's up for dispute. Like, we're really not sure right now. But we are hearing a new report that apparently Thailand has confirmed that 4 soldiers of theirs, the Thailand soldiers, were injured after triggering an anti-personnel mine in the Ubon province. And they're saying that they were placed along the footpaths by Cambodia, and that's why the Thailand military apparently attacked the Cambodian military. And now the Cambodian military is claiming that the Thailand military attacked them unprovoked. So it sounds like maybe... Excuse me, by the way. I'm trying to not choke on that chip I just ate. But it sounds to me like most likely the Thailand forces probably were maybe justified in responding to the Cambodians. It sounds like they mined a path that they shouldn't have mined. So that seems to be what kicked the whole thing off.
I got to be honest with you, man. Thai military equipment is literally from everywhere. Let me show you this. This is actually really unique. They have 1911s still in service, apparently for... let's see. It's apparently known as the Type 86, but apparently still a somewhat standard issue pistol. They also have the Sig Sauer P320s in service. I don't really like Sig too much, though. They also have the CZ75s from the Czech Republic. They also have the P226s from Germany. They also have the Berettas from Italy, the Glocks from Austria, the Daewoo K5 from South Korea. They also have the FN57 from Belgium. So they literally have a pistol from just about every country in the Western world that they have in their armed forces in some way, shape, or form. Then, if you move into shotguns, they actually have the Daewoo 12 gauge, which isn't really anything to look at, but it is an automatic shotgun. They also have the Remington Model 1100, and then they also have the Remington 870, which is really standard. And then they have SMGs from Germany, Israel, and Belgium, really hitting all of the best SMG manufacturers out there right now. And then they have every service rifle that could be imaginable. They have the M16s, the Daewoo K2. This is South Korea's, I believe this is a short stroke piston, kind of a service rifle, if I'm remembering that right. They also have every single HK variant possible, which is pretty much some form or variant of the G3. They also have this crazy looking variant of an M4 that I don't really know a lot about. They also have some Tavors and Galils. They also have a Scar, some M4s, AK. They even have some AKs, actually.
Oh, and also, by the way, I got some breaking news right now. Apparently, Thailand has just deployed its F-16 fighter jets against Cambodia at the border area. So that just happened. That's according to the Thai military, by the way, and that happened 2 minutes ago. So apparently, the F-16s are on their way out to the border as we speak. Also, unfortunately, we do have some more video as well, apparently showing the Grad firing as well. It looks like from... I can't tell which side this is, but we can see here it's definitely firing at someone. So let's take a look.
Oh, that's a BM-21 grad, so I take a shot that's the Cambodians. And if that is the same, MLRS from earlier that we're seeing from a different angle, that actually means that I was wrong. It was not an RM-7. It was actually the more common BM-21, like you were saying.
It's hard to believe that this might have gotten started over some landmines that someone stepped on. That seems like a pretty, honestly, I know some people are going to disagree, but it seems like a small provocation to warrant all of this, especially since they're deploying F-16s from Thailand. They've got the grads out here firing full speed ahead at the other side. I mean, this is pretty serious. Also, we have another video, by the way. I'm not sure if we've already shown this one, but it shows the Cambodians firing at the Thai troops from a trench.
Let's see here. We actually showed that one already, I believe.
Okay. It won't load for some reason either. So, I think it's not an issue with your computer. I've noticed that after some of these pieces of footage are uploaded, suddenly they stop playing. I'm not sure if it's censorship or what this is, but it appears to be also doing the same thing on my end. So they play for like the first 5 minutes, and all of a sudden they stop playing, and they start buffering endlessly. So that's kind of weird.
Yeah, that is weird. Also, by the way, just getting out through some more of the equipment that the Thai have. Someone, I forgot who it was, put this well in the chat. They said Thailand must have hit every gun show out there in the world, because it looks like they did, because they have just about every service rifle you could imagine. They also have just about every sniper rifle that you can imagine, at least that are good in the Western world. And then they have just about every single machine gun that you can have. They have the M249s, the Daewoo K3, they have the Ultimax 100, which I have never heard of before, but it's from Singapore. They also have the FN Minimi and the FN Mag, the M60, the HK21, which I've not really heard a lot about before, but appears to be a belt-fed G3, is maybe the best thing I could shoot for, and then the M2 Browning. Then they have a load of grenade launchers, including the Mark 19, which is my personal favorite. And then they also have some javelins, some spikes, some tows, some laws, a Type 69 from China, which is an RPG-7. They also have the Carl Gustaf from Sweden. I'm not kidding, man. I've never seen a country field this many different kinds of weapon systems, which is impressive to one degree, that they are literally like a roving gun show. The second thing is, though, it's this must be a logistical hell to supply all of the different munitions and spare parts to repair or keep these things operating. This has got to be hell. But this is also a little bit crazy. They have 60 VT-4s from China, which are China's newest export main battle tank. But they also have 50 T-84 Oplots from Ukraine, meaning that Thailand has more Ukrainian T-84s than Ukraine actually had in service at the beginning of the war in Ukraine, which is a little bit shocking. I did not know that. They also have a whole bunch of M60s. They also have a whole bunch of M48s. They have some Scorpions, which are light tanks from the Belgians or the British. And then they also are the only user of the M8 Stingray, which this was actually a discontinued program here in America because it didn't meet the criteria for a light tank, but it appears that the Thai considered it good enough, and they bought a lot of them. So they have about 108 of these, 106 of them in service right now. They have loads of APCs, loads of supply trucks, APCs, and so on, loads of literally everything, pretty significant or light amount of MLRSs, and also towed artillery as well. So a very significant armed force for the ground. But I hear that we actually have more breaking news coming out right now. So what do we got, Matthew?
All right, so we're seeing here a news wire coming out. This is allegedly from the Deputy Defense Minister, General Narkfanit, and hopefully I'm saying his name right. I have a feeling I'm not, though. I feel like I'm butchering it. But this is the Thai Army speaking right here. They've reaffirmed the Thai Army will safeguard national sovereignty following the clashes that erupted along the Thai-Cambodian border on Thursday morning. They're saying the government has no plans for further negotiations with the Cambodians, and that the National Security Committee will be meeting this afternoon to discuss necessary measures. And they're both accusing each other of firing first, so that was already been discussed as well. The flare-up does follow a landmine explosion that injured 5 Thai soldiers in an incident that the Thai authorities claim was caused by the Cambodians. And they did reiterate as well that the F-16s have been deployed, and they're apparently in the air right now. Apparently it's about 5 or 6 of them. And I'm trying to get that post real quick. Let me pull that up. Let's see here. Yeah, it's about 6 F-16 fighter jets that were apparently deployed by the 2nd Army Region of Thailand. So clearly, it looks like the Thailand military has no wishes at all to negotiate. It sounds like they're wanting to go at it with the Cambodians because they're very pissed off about the landmine incident. And like I said, I'm kind of having a hard time believing the landmine incident really set this whole thing off. It sounds like there was definitely something brewing under the surface, and this was merely the catalyst for it, because it sounds like there's some other things that they had to sort of straighten out.
I have a feeling that there's a lot more to this than the landmine deal. I think the landmine deal is justification for a larger geopolitical issue that's been underlying the whole situation at the moment. But a very wild thing to see that a whole war is breaking out, at least over the technical declaration that a couple of guys stepped on landmines and it's time to pay. That's a little bit interesting. Because if something like this happened on the Korean Peninsula, this would lead to very high tensions and a near outbreak of war, but not a complete outbreak of war. But it appears that the Thai are out for blood at this point from what Matthew's saying, and it looks like we'll be seeing the Cambodians will be paying for this quite dearly. So we'll have to see what's happening tomorrow as a result of that. But still, a big thanks to Enforcer Matt for sharing that breaking news with us. And in the meantime, let's gather a couple of questions before we get more breaking news that's coming out at this moment.
All right, so our next super chat here goes to none other than Scott Milan. And thank you very much, Scott, for that $50 support and helping to keep the channel running with that support. And we do appreciate that, Scott. He said, thanks, Enforcers. And can NATO block and counter all comms out of Kaliningrad if Russia keeps spoofing the comms?
Technically, we can conduct counter-electronic warfare interference, but it's a little bit difficult to pull off. Really, the easiest way to deal with electronic warfare interference is destroying the source, which means that we would have to triangulate exactly where those were and then hit them with artillery in the outbreak of a war. So technically, we can do it. It would be a little bit difficult to pull off in peacetime, but in wartime, we could just target the electronic warfare systems and destroy them outright and largely fix the problem in that way. So I hope that does address that the best I can. A huge thanks to you for the massive support and enjoying this channel and helping it to keep on running. Because folks like you who go out of their way to support this channel help to make this thing possible. This channel, at least its live streams, are ad-free and sponsor-free. And it's folks like you who have gone out of their way to support the channel like you did tonight that help to make this thing possible and help us to keep this thing running day in and day out. If it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to pay our bills to keep the lights on here behind the scenes and to be able to keep covering this news as a daily job. I got to thank you massively for that so much once again, and I got to thank everyone who's supporting the channel because y'all help to make this thing possible and help us to keep this thing running day in and day out. So a huge thanks to you so much once again, and with that, we are on to the next one.
Also, by the way, some more breaking news. It looks like they've started striking civilians already. I'm seeing here an initial photo coming out. It appears to be a 7-Eleven has been struck by a shell or some projectile, and it appears to be most likely on the Thailand side, but I'm not very certain about which side it is. But I'm seeing a humongous fire and explosion on the site, or at least near to a 7-Eleven. And let's see here. I'm trying to get more information on this. Right now, it's just a photo coming out. We're seeing some images from eyewitnesses. But this is a bit concerning because once civilians start getting hit or targeted or explosions start happening near civilians, and then you start having casualties, that starts increasing the odds of escalation dramatically because then the government feels compelled to avenge the deaths of the civilians because it's hard to let things go once people start dying, basically. So that appears to be the case right now, but I'm trying to figure out exactly which side that was. It appears to be on Thailand's side. Most likely the Cambodians did that, but I'm not very certain. I'm trying to get some more information about it right this second. But Enforcer, what say you?
Statistically, the chances are high that this actually would be a Thai 7-Eleven that's hit, because Cambodia only has 83 7-Elevens, while Thailand has about 15,000, which is about 3,000 more than all of the 7-Elevens in the United States. So it's a very high chance that it was a Thai 7-Eleven that was hit and not a Cambodian one. But we'll have to wait and see if we can get some more information on that. But at the moment, it appears that that was actually an impact by Cambodian rocket forces against a Thai 7-Eleven, at least in the moment. But do we have a picture of that, Matthew, or something that we could show on our Twitter?
So yeah, I don't have it on the Twitter, but I do have it. I'm getting this from a source that's a friend of the channel, actually. So let me copy this image. I'm going to send it to you on Discord because it's actually not public. So let me send this over to you right now.
Ah, yes. I see you know your 7-Elevens well. Good one. And you, sir, are you ready to receive my big gulp? How dare you, sir? So let's see if we can get it. Ah, there we go. That looks like Thai to me. So I'm guessing that that is... Yeah, it actually is Thai, because it says Thai Wrath Online, so this is some sort of a Thai news source showing a 7-Eleven that was hit. So this is a Thai 7-Eleven, from what we can tell. So... that is interesting. And also we can see more video of the border war that's going on right now. That appears to be more MLRS fire. we're assuming from the Cambodians, because the Cambodians have a very high ratio of MLRSs in their armed forces, while the Thai really don't. So we were expecting that is most likely more fire by the Cambodians, at least at the moment. But a very interesting development, for sure, I have to say. And also, I also have to add in, folks, that I saw some people saying, wow, the breakdown of 7-Elevens around the world is interesting. For some reason, I thought about that. I was like, how many 7-Elevens are there in either of these countries, if there are any at all? But it appears that the statistical probability is high that it was a 7-Eleven in Thailand. Apparently, Thailand is covered in them because, interestingly enough, Matthew, with how big Thailand is, Thailand has 3,000 more 7-Elevens than the whole of the United States does. So I'm assuming that it had to be a Thai 7-Eleven. Yeah, that's nuts. Like let me go see 7-Eleven stores in the world. Look at this. This is the metric right here that was taken as of. Oh, hang on, hold up. We need to go get the more modern one. This is the amount of stores there were as of March 31st of 2024. And look at this. There are 12,614 7-Elevens in America. In Thailand, 14,730. And what's even crazier is that in Japan, there are 21,554 7-Elevens.
Damn, that is insane, honestly. That's a crazy concentration. You know, I've seen a lot of videos coming out of that country of Thailand about like 7-Eleven, like ASMR videos and things like that. You know what I'm talking about? It's like the food videos that like get the food out of the vending machine, they like unwrap it and they don't talk and stuff like that and they eat it. Like, have you seen those?
I haven't really seen those a lot.
Yeah, I've seen those. It's like the people that like get obsessed with the vending machines and things like that. It's those type videos like that.
Okay, yeah, I think I know what you're talking about now, but I have rarely ever seen them.
And also, by the way, we're getting some more news here, by the way. This is also another bad sign that things are about to escalate. Thailand has just recalled its ambassador to Cambodia amid border tensions, the ruling party says, in Thailand. So Thailand appears to be, honestly, Thailand appears to be the side that's escalating most rapidly. Thailand is not happy at all, and Cambodia is responding, but Thailand seems to be the one leading the charge with the escalation. They're not happy. So with the ambassador being recalled, I would say that it sounds like they're planning to do something here. Also, they're recalling their citizens from Cambodia as well. Thailand's saying that if any of their citizens are in Cambodia, they should leave now. That's what they're saying. So, and also keep in mind the F-16s have been deployed to the border from Thailand as well. So it seems pretty serious.
I would agree. I also don't know where they have that many 7-Elevens in Thailand because I'm looking in the capital. I'm honestly kind of like distracted about the whole 7-Eleven thing right now. And I know there's a war going on, everyone, but the fact that they have that many 7-Elevens, I mean, really, like for a country this big, I mean, that's got to be on every corner. And I'm not seeing it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how they could have that many. It seems unreal. But if Japan can have 21,000, I guess it's not that absurd. But outside of that, it does sound as though with the ambassador being pulled, it seems as though this is a complete cessation of any sort of diplomatic connections or communications with the Cambodians. So it appears that the Thai are going to be on the Cambodians more than 7-Eleven is on Thailand.
Yeah, I think so. I would agree.
I would have to say so. This is just wildly fascinating to me, honestly, man. This is more fascinating than the war. I'm like, there can't be 14,730 7-Elevens in Thailand. That just sounds absurd. Like, how the hell do they have that many?
Yeah, that's insane, man, honestly. Like, I wish we just had one 7-Eleven in Alabama. We have 0.
Yeah, we don't even have one 7-Eleven Thailand map. Let me go pull that up.
I just want one roller, dog.
Oh my god. So it really is that absurd. Like, where is that? This is on Reddit somewhere. And so this is the amount of 7-Eleven. Let me go get a bigger version of this. This is the amount of 7-Elevens in Bangkok, Thailand, right there.
Damn. Like, honestly, is 7-Eleven's business bigger in Asia than it is in America? Like, it seems like it is.
I suppose so, because Japan has 21,000 of them, which is almost twice the number of the amount in America.
I mean, I would love 7-Eleven too if they'd bring it here, but we don't have any. I think they maybe have some out in Salt Lake City, but I'm not really sure.
Dude, so wait a minute. That means that the Big Gulp isn't even American. It's more Japanese and Thai at this point than it is American, just by the amount of stores.
Yeah, honestly, I think I would agree.
That is nuts. I just want to know, like, how the hell can there be this many of them? Or like, where in the world can we find the 7-Elevens? Like, if we zoom in, there's just got to be loads of them, right?
Also, let's see. Drop Nation, he lives in Thailand. He said people here eat 7-Eleven their whole lives. Like, honestly, it seems like a big deal. Like, I see people like making videos about going to 7-Eleven to try stuff like in Thailand. So I think it's a pretty damn big deal.
It's crazy because they're not showing it on the Google Maps at all. Like there's no 7-Elevens anywhere on the Google Maps hardly, but on this map, they're literally everywhere. Like they like look at that. Look at that right there. There's at least a dozen of them every city block. That's insane. That's like it's like every business in Thailand is a 7-Eleven. Like that's insane. What does the map for Japan look like then? Hold up. 7-Eleven Japan map.
Oh, geez.
How many of them are there in Japan? Is Japan owned by 7-Eleven? That's what I'm asking here. My God.
Also, by the way, there's some rough videos coming out right now of this conflict brewing up between Cambodia and Thailand. There's some tough videos that we definitely cannot show on the air. This thing is getting ugly, like very ugly. I don't know if that's a soldier or a civilian, but someone here has bitten the bullet.
Like it, and I'll look at it off screen really quickly.
It's not on Twitter. It's on a back channel.
Oh, is there any way that you can send that over? Where I will not be able to
show you. I'll have to show you later because I don't even want to risk this one being even slightly shown.
I'll look at it on my phone. It will not be shown. I'll tell you when I see it, and I'll be like, okay, you can get rid of it. So if you want to send it over Discord, I'll take a look at it and try and take a shot at identifying who the individual is, whether they were armed forces or civilian. But it might be a little good to know for a fact, because if civilians are getting killed or wounded in any high numbers, we can guarantee that there will be a significant response by the Thai government as a result. Usually, at least in terms of diplomatic exchanges, the casualties of armed service members is slightly less significant than the loss of a civilian. So let me really quickly, Matthew, have you sent that over, by the way?
I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure how to send it to you. It's not on Discord.
Oh, okay. So we'll try and take a look at it after the stream, and I'll tell you all a little bit about it tomorrow. Also, we cannot show that to you all on YouTube. It would violate the guidelines. But it most likely, if we had to, Matty, can you describe their clothes? Like, is there any of that you can see? Can you describe that a little bit?
Really nothing left to describe. Really, it's bad.
Let me really quickly come out there and take a look at that then, because it might be a little bit important to see, like to kind of get a little bit of
just save it. Just save it for now. I don't want to disrupt the whole thing because I'm going to get some more videos of it. I might be able to share it with you here shortly, but let's just hold off for now, and I'll send it over to you when I get a link.
Okay, got you. So with that in mind, though, this is insane as well, Matthew. Look at this. I mean, I don't mean to be distracted with the 7-Eleven thing all night, folks, but there really are 21,000 stores. There's 194 7-Elevens in Okinawa alone.
Damn, that is insane.
That is insane. But with that, we're going to get off the whole 7-Eleven rant. That's just wild to learn tonight. But anyways, with that, it is time for us to get on into the rest of the questions for the night. So, what do we got, Matthew?
All right. Also, real quick, one more piece of breaking news. Wait a minute. Let's see here. Hold on a second. I think I have videos of the F-16s. I'm not really sure. Hold on a second. I reposted that video. Also, by the way, another big announcement. The district chief of Kap Chong in the Syrian province where the fighting is, first started has reported that 2 villagers were injured and 2 were killed. We did report on that already after a Cambodian BM-21 rocket struck the middle of the village, actually, where the civilians were at. And the authorities have since evacuated between 30,000 to 40,000 people to temporary shelters. So that gives you an idea of the size of this incident that's happening right now. Very large. It's 40,000 people to shelters. But let's take a look at the video, unfortunately, because we apparently have a video here maybe showing the F-16s. I'm not really sure.
All right. And so it doesn't look like it's on our Twitter posts yet. So I'm waiting for it to pop up here. Is it has been reposted, Matthew?
Yeah, it's at the top.
Let's see here. It's not showing up for me just yet. And I'll show just to make sure. The last thing I'm seeing is the MLRS video. This one has
that's the top one. That's it up there at the top. Allegedly, that might have shown F-16s. I hadn't had a chance to look at it.
That is MLRS fire from a grad. So
okay.
Yeah, that's the same one we had down here. But anyways, with that, I'll just unpost that real quick. But with that, it is time for us to get on to the next one.
All right, so jumping back into our super chats real quick, our next one here is going to go to none other than Deminoac once again. He puts in a $20 donation, and thank you very much, Deminoac, for the third super chat of the night and very generous support, and we do appreciate that very, very much. He said the copter pilot had shorts change when he landed.
I'd have to say so. Like getting that close to a U.S. warship that could wipe you out, I'd have to say probably did. But a huge thanks to you so much for the support. Once again, Diminoak, you've been supporting this channel massively tonight, and we're greatly appreciative because folks like you help this channel to keep on rolling. So a huge, massive thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, so our next one here goes to Flash1, who puts in a $20 donation, and thank you very much, Flash, for that $20 support. And he said, hello to you both, and hello, Flash. He said, I never miss a show, so I watch the show late, not the late show, haha. And to many questions to ask, so please have a live chat question, and keep up the great work, LSA, and I haven't heard David Attenborough for a while.
And I thank you greatly for supporting this channel and helping us to keep it running. If it was not for amazing folks like you, Flash One, we would not be able to have a great deal of questions to answer, and of course, a great deal of people to talk to.
I've got to thank you so much once again for the support, Flash One, and helping this channel to keep on running. And thank you for never missing a show. Folks do have to miss shows sometimes because they're busy or they have work, and it conflicts with their schedule. But I am very appreciative to know that you make time, hell or high water, to be able to watch this show. I thank you massively for that. And I also have to say, on top of that as well, that we will make sure to get a live chat question in your honor, Flash One. And so with that, what do we got, Matthew, in honor of Flash One?
Okay, so the live chat question is going to go to none other than Al, who said, does it favor China to have this Thai-Cambodia conflict, and is it part of the strategy leading up to actually invading Taiwan?
I would say not. Cambodia or Taiwan would never play a role in defending or helping out Taiwan whatsoever. So this is more so a very significant, a very insignificant sideshow as far as China would be concerned, most likely, because Cambodia also has really no strategic value in the modern age. They don't have a significant port. They don't really have a large population because of the whole Khmer Rouge thing. And they really don't have a significant economy either. So for most purposes, Cambodia is a very insignificant country and really plays no major factor in China's decision-making within the region. So with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, at least in my opinion, off of what I'm seeing at the moment. And with that, we are on to the next one.
Okay, so I have an update for everybody about the civilian casualty, which we cannot show on the air. It does appear to be a civilian casualty. That is confirmed. Also, Enforcer, do not go to our likes tab. Do not go there. I put it on the likes tab so it wouldn't be on our feed. Do not do that on the air.
I took it off there.
Okay, but the 7-Eleven took a direct hit, the one that I was mentioning earlier. I have close-up videos or pictures of it now. There is a deceased individual at the front of the 7-Eleven, and they appear to have succumbed to their injuries. And let's see here. This 7-Eleven has been ravaged, by the way. The windows are blown out. There's a fire in the interior of it, and this thing is a bad scene. So civilians apparently were targeted, and this is a Thailand 7-Eleven that was allegedly hit here. So not good, and we definitely cannot show those images on the air, but it's bad.
No, we cannot show the images on the air, but it is definitely a civilian casualty. It appears that unfortunately they took most likely extreme traumatic injuries pretty much at the instant of impact of the rocket, which most likely, hopefully, it was a quick and painless death because it looks like it was pretty gruesome, to be entirely honest with you all. But it does appear that that is a confirmed civilian casualty that we were able to get. And we've also been able to hear from governor officials of the region in Surin that it does appear that there's also been 2 other civilian casualties that were mentioned from a village elsewhere that was not near to the 7-Eleven. Apparently the 7-Eleven was in a different area. So this means there are now 3 civilian fatalities that we've been able to hear of at the moment, along with really 5 casualties in total, but 3 fatalities that we've been able to confirm, at least at the moment, through government official statements and also video and picture evidence from that 7-Eleven. So it does appear that there has been a considerable amount of civilian fatalities just within the opening hour of the larger part of this border war. So very unfortunate to hear.
Also, Enforcer, I might have a geolocation, actually, of that location. Let me double check and make sure this is accurate real quick. Give me just a second here. I'm trying to put this on my second screen so I can get a look at it. Let's see here. I got to test the coordinates real quick. Let's see. So testing these coordinates here, it does appear it shows up most likely to 7-Eleven. So I'm going to post these coordinates here in the live chat. Let's take a look at this. This is allegedly the location of the 7-Eleven that was struck. But take this with a grain of salt. This is a very early geolocation, but let's take a look.
And let's see here. So that appears to maybe not be a 7. Well, that is a 7-Eleven. I don't know if that's the one though. But this is actually in the wrong region, at least from what we know, because if that happened in the Surin region, this is actually in the Sisaket region of Thailand.
Well, there's skirmishes happening along the border. I'm not sure if it happened exactly here because I'm not very certain about it, but this is the earliest geolocation. Is that the 7-Eleven right there?
No, the 7-Eleven that we saw that was hit was far more modern and in a nicer area than this. So we will have to look elsewhere. And also, this is very deep in the country. I mean, this is 30 miles, dead reckoning, 15, 16 miles away. This would be on the very, very farthest range of a grad. I mean, well, actually, this is about 3 miles out of range. This would be 3 miles out. Like, I think a grad only has a max range of about 12 miles most times. So this would be far out for a grad. So I think we might need to keep looking. Honestly, I would say that we need to look in the Surin region for the 7-Eleven. But there's so many of them in the country, it's really hard to even say which one it would be because there's, almost 15,000 of them. So it's going to be a little bit hard to narrow down.
It's we're seeing here reports of, let's see here. Let me double check this and cross-reference this. So people are saying it's rockets that struck a gas station in the Sisaket province of Thailand. So they're saying it is that province, but then I'm seeing reports here claiming, let's see here. Okay, so let me grab this.
Is it
I've
this
got another
one?
lead.
Hold up, I think it's this one. I think I just dropped down on it actually. Hold up, let me check this because go cross-reference this with me, Matthew, because I got it on screen right now. I'm going to check my likes tab again off air, but that looks just like it, like almost it's a little off actually. It's almost the same.
What is
building.
it? What is the street location? Can you give me the street address?
Let's see. It's Kangan in Surin, and that looks to be the only address that's given.
Okay, so I think I've got this for you. Let me go ahead and paste this here in the live chat. Just a second. I'm trying to do this on the fly, so it's a bit challenging, but let's see here. So it's a PTT station. Ban Phua branch. That is it. So let me paste it. Dang it, it won't let me well, here we go. Hold on. It's not cooperating with me. Give me just a second here. I got to try to backspace something. Backspace those. So we're going to get this exact location. There it is. I put it in the live chat. That is apparently the best lead we have right now at the moment.
Okay, so let's take a look at that. It's in the Sisaket province again.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's take a look. And I'm sorry, folks, that we can't show you all this on air. It's graphic. Actually, Matthew, this is showing me a wide variety of them. Can we narrow it down here on the map which one it was?
So let's see. Hold on a second. Let me try to get a front view of these stations here. All right. So I've got the exact address this time. Try this one.
Also, it's got to be close to the border. I mean, very close, within 12 miles for it to have been hit by an MLRS. So we'll also measure that out as well to make sure that it matches the range, that it would have been within range of a rocket barrage. So now we have one in here. It's somewhere in here. So we'll just travel down the street and find a 7-Eleven eventually.
Did you get that address I sent over?
I did, and then it showed this entire region here. It didn't get me into a specific building or a type. So now we've at least got a region now. So we'll just wander around the road until we find it. Let's see. So it could be down here, and we know that it'll have.
I put a link in the chat, by the way. It should take you straight to it.
This actually appears it's coming down to almost the same spot. Like it's the same 7-Elevens within this area. So let me go here. And yeah, that looks like the same 7-Eleven. But I'm going to drop down here. We'll give it the due diligence to check and double check. Let's see here. That can't be it. Because here's what I'm seeing on my screen right now, folks. And I'll make sure to check this with you and tick off all the boxes. So first, the building that we're looking at that was hit by the MLRS, it's got 2 food stands next to it and also a grassy area with a curb. And this area has no curbs. Second off, there are several utility poles and what appears to be some sort of a small electrical substation behind the gas station, which doesn't exist near this one. Third, there is a light gray partition to the building over here with the 7-Eleven sign, and it's a fairly lengthy building because it almost appears to be a small strip mall with a dark gray section off to its far left side in the pictures, which isn't seen on this one. So this
I'll be
appears...
honest, the 7-Eleven that appears in the photos that we're seeing here, let me go back and take a look at it. Let's see if I can get a translation on that post, actually. Let me see if I can get that real quick and see if there's an address here. So in the translation for the post from our source in Thailand, it appears Ban Phu, Kantharalak district, Sisaket province, many students and civilians injured is the headline here. So we don't have the exact address, but they're saying Ban Phu, Kantharalak, if that's how you say it, Sisaket province.
This would technically be the location they're talking about. This is the town, but the 7-Eleven is not matching up to what we're seeing in this area. It's the wrong 7-Eleven because the geolocation is not lining up.
Interesting. So I think we're going to give up on that. There's too many 7-Elevens to try to figure out where this one's at because there's a 7-Eleven literally on every corner here. So it's kind of hard to tell. We'll have to wait for an exact address because we don't know Thailand's geography that well. And we don't know the layouts of their 7-Elevens either. So that's a tough one. But by the way, Enforcer, I actually see the logo on the front of the building here. 7-Eleven is the corner store, but they've got a different logo on the front. It's like a blue logo and it's got, I can't read the language obviously, but it's got somebody's name. Also, there's an IHOP stand outside of it as well on the side.
Yeah, that's what I was pointing out earlier. And also notice that the parking lot's curbed, which the one that we were looking at, it had no curbs. So there's just too many things that aren't lining up with this one to make it the gas station that was hit in the attack. Because let me do you see the picture, like my screen and then that one with the pictures on it for cross reference? So one, it's paved incredibly well with curbs. This is not paved well with curbs. Two, there's this big, if you move to the second and third pictures and just kind of look at them, switching them around, there isn't this really big backlot area. I mean, right behind this gas station, there's some sort of a house or a tenement right behind it, which isn't lining up. Also, the gas station cover for the cars to be fueled in is really, really close to this gas station, meaning that the angles of the pictures that we're seeing would be taken under the awning and the lighting would be different. And this lighting appears to be showing that they're standing in the middle of the pavement with no covering.
Yeah, totally new. And this appears to be a new construction. They've got curbs. They also have very modern street lamps, and there's no signs whatsoever of any type of like minor flooding like you see in that photo on Google Earth. So this is a new station that we're looking at here that was struck. So we're going to have to hold up and wait on this one because we simply just don't have enough information about it. But it is confirmed, though, apparently some casualties outside of it.
Oh yeah, now the casualty is confirmed, folks. The unfortunate individual is laying in the middle of the parking lot, dead in the picture. That's why we can't show it to all of y'all. But we can't figure out which 7-Eleven it is, and I'm going to be entirely honest with y'all. I do not think it's going to be in the Sisaket region. I have a feeling it's going to be further west in the Surin region, if anywhere, because that's where we are able to confirm that there has been fatalities and casualties in general at the moment, and we haven't been able to hear of any casualties out of the Sisaket region, at least by official government announcement. So if we were to say it was a 7-Eleven, it really is. It's digging me to find this thing, man. Like I want to find it because it's got to be within 12 miles of the border.
Wait a minute. Holy smokes. We got a big escalation. Thailand has launched airstrikes on 2 Cambodian military targets using their F-16. So now there's confirmed airstrikes. That's being reported by AFP News. So very reliable source right there. Apparently they've launched airstrikes on Cambodia. So this thing has jumped into a different league right now, and we're being told that by the Thai Defense League or whatever they're called. I don't even know what they're called, to be honest with you. But it's getting serious. It looks like F-16s are going in.
Very interesting to hear, and we'll have to see what kind of airstrikes they were, the scale, and the magnitude. But it does appear that this is actually possibly evolving into a full-scale conflict at this point, especially considering that air power is now being used. This could actually be a full-scale war right now, or more so turning into one. So very interesting to hear. I also saw Cookie say that that's the same place at a later date. Let's check. Let's double check, because I want to make sure that we're doing this right. Are we hitting all of the boxes? Is there any modern pictures of this 7-Eleven? This was taken in 2017, 2021, 2023. I'm sorry, this cannot be it. There's just too much that's not lining up here.
It's not it. It's not it. I'm watching. I have a video of it right now that's been reposted. Be cautious about it. I haven't had a chance to really vet the whole thing yet, but I'm seeing on the sign it's got a different logo. It's in a different area, different driveway. It's a whole different thing. But yeah, it's not it that you're looking at Google Earth.
Let's see. Yeah, we can't show that. It's got. Wait a minute. It's a. Okay, so Matthew, if you watch at the 5-second mark of the video, it shows that it's a PTT station. We know that. I think that's the state-run gas company. Because I think it's nationalized in Thailand like it is in other Southeast Asian countries. But they have a 7-Eleven there. They also have another store, and I know you can see it, but I can't tell what it is. But it's a square box in green with yellow text inside of it, but I can't tell what company that is. But if we can figure out what company that is, then we could try and look for a joint 7-Eleven and the other store combined, and that would probably lower down the search criteria significantly if we can find out what other stores is.
It's too low res. It's the connecting business off to the left of the 7-Eleven. That's the business it's referring to on the sign. But the problem is though, it's too low resolution. I would have to like AI upscale it, and then that would take some time. So I can't really do that right now. But sadly, I think we're gonna have to give this one up because it's just hard to tell exactly where it is.
Hold up, I think I got one last thing that we could do. Hop. Let's see. Let me just type it in as it's seen. Is this at a 7-Eleven? No, that can't be it. This has got, like, the hop chafe thing, the hop coffee or cafe thing that's right by the gas station. I mean, there's got to be some way. Like, I'm going to be honest with y'all, this is driving me crazy, folks, because usually I'm pretty good at geolocation. I'm absolutely getting blocked along with Matthew at every turn here. We're usually pretty good at this, but I'm so unfamiliar with Thailand, and also the fact that everything's in the native Thai language here, and there's no English translations for most of it, is making this a lot more difficult. So, it's unfortunately, I think it is going to be beyond us at this point, and we'll just have to get on into more questions and also covering more news as it comes out. But we did see on air, folks, the actual breakout of a conflict. But what do we got, Matthew?
So we're getting some early preliminary word right now that allegedly, let me try to get the source pulled up real quick. So allegedly, we're hearing that Cambodian soldiers a few minutes ago have attacked the Phantom Dong Rock Hospital with injuries reported. So we're hearing allegedly, take it with a grain of salt, that Cambodia might have attacked a Thailand hospital, and apparently there's people injured. So can we get a location on the hospital at least?
Let's see here. So the Phantom Dong Rock Hospital. Let's see. Unfortunately, I don't have any spelling for that, so I wouldn't be able to find it easily.
So I'm just going to put it into live chat. Just copy and paste it, and you should get it.
So let's see here. We're waiting for that. We're waiting for that. We're waiting for that. So here we go. So this is in the Surin province. So it appears that everything's happening in the Surin province for the large part at the moment, which is once again why I don't think the 7-Elevens were lining up. So let's see here. Let's get that copy. 1 second, folks. Let me go put this in here. So this is the hospital that's apparently been attacked. It is within, if it's an MLS barrage that hit this place, it would be within 6 miles of the border, really 7 almost. So this actually is within MLRS range to be attacked directly. It does appear that apparently the Cambodians have, at least according to reports right now, possibly hit this hospital. But here are some pictures of the surrounding area of the hospital complex to show you a little bit of what it is. And this appears to have been the one that was attacked directly by MLRS fire from Cambodian forces not too long ago. I'm not going to lie, this is actually a pretty nice hospital to be in a rural area.
Yeah, it really is. It's surprising to me. Like, and once again, I can't emphasize enough. Take that with a grain of salt about the hospital information because we're hearing that from a Thai news source. So, propaganda is a bit of a problem these days when it comes to conflicts. Like, I'm not saying they're putting out propaganda, but we got to take everything with a grain of salt without picture evidence. Right now, we do not have picture evidence right this second, so take it with a grain of salt. But if it turns out to be true that Cambodia struck a hospital, then apparently the gloves are off between the two countries. They've apparently resorted to just getting brutal right off the bat, and that means it's almost certainly going to escalate. But without knowing and having picture evidence, it's kind of hard to say that with certainty.
It is plausible, though. This isn't far at all from the border. This is only 6.5 miles. So if they wanted to hit it with an MLRS barrage, they definitely could. It's well within range. So once again, folks, we don't have video and picture evidence yet, which means we can't confirm this with absolute certainty, but it is a plausible developing story at the moment. Once again, no confirmation, but it is plausible that this did actually happen. We're just waiting for confirmation of it at this point. So, very unfortunate if it did happen, but we still can't confirm that it happened just yet, and we also cannot confirm any casualties or fatalities from that hospital right now. So, with that, I hope that addresses that somewhat well, and we are on to the next one.
All right. And also, unfortunately, you might want to maybe add that to the title real quick, because I'm sure we'll be covering that for probably the next 30 minutes, I would guess, while we're getting the rest of our super chat. So it probably might be good to add it to the title. But jumping into our next super chat here, this one goes to CIA Accounts Payable, who shows up once again with the ledger. And they put in a $10 donation. And thank you very much, good sir, for that support. He said, did somebody say CIA?
Oh, yes, we did. And I got to thank you massively for the support, CIA Accounts Payable, because folks like you help us to make sure that we keep on putting out pro-American and pro-Western news. So a huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And also, let's see here. I got people giving me coordinates. Let me double check and see if these coordinates are matching up. Let's see here. We're still on the hunt for that 7-Eleven. So let's see if this might be it. Let's see. Let's see here. Can I get some street view, please? Let's see. Oh, good sir. I think you found it. I think you did find it. The credit goes to, and he's not the only one, but AJ in the live chat. He sent me the coordinates, and he got them right. This is it. So let me grab this, copy and paste, and the enforcer can show the entire audience.
I've actually got it right now.
Here.
And this is it.
Ah.
This is the curved one with the fence behind it. This is it exactly. Utility poles and all. So this is the 7-Eleven that was hit directly. I wish we could show it to y'all in a better form. Of course, if we did, there would be some issues with YouTube. So sadly, we can't show y'all the exact gas station. But this is actually the one. This is the one without a doubt. Let me check with the videos again, cross-reference everything. Let me do the due diligence. So... oh, yeah, that looks to line up. And then they move the camera to the left. And there's the PTT gas station sign. The logos match up. Everything about the sign matches up. There's the little substation thing. And then they look over and there's a building across the street, which appears it might be this one. And are there bollards up? There are bollards. So this is it. This is the one. And where is this? It is in the Sisaket region, and it is literally, I'm not even kidding, Matthew, it is literally 2 miles away from the other one.
Interesting. That's crazy, honestly. I didn't know it was that close. That's how dense the 7-Eleven population is here. It's literally that close.
So if this was if this was fired at, this actually is still almost at it is pretty much outside of the range of a normal grad. So, well, actually, let me check that. Let me check that as well. BM-21 grad. Let me check the range of the normal rockets that a grad would use. And it has a range of, well, are they going to tell me? Well, let's see, BM-21 grad range. 30 to 40 kilometers. Why the hell was I saying 15? Oh, hold up. Let me go look at something here. 30. Well, you know what? We'll go with 35 kilometers. Is a nice even number. Kilometers range.
Oh dear. So okay. While you're finding that out real quick, unfortunately, let me just say this real quick, and then I'll let you jump right back to it, and then we can jump into this breaking news. But real quick, just a preview here. Thank you to Jay Bagwell, by the way, for tagging me in this, because I didn't see it a minute ago. But apparently, according to AZ Intel, we've seen here that the Thai army is now claiming that Cambodia did indeed attack the Phanom Dong Rock Hospital in Thailand, multiple injuries. So right now we're hearing confirmation allegedly from the Thai army that it was hit as well. So unless they're lying, then it appears to be very likely that that hospital was attacked by the Cambodian military. But once again, no picture or video evidence. We're waiting for that, and we operate solely on picture and video evidence. But we're getting more confirmation that a hospital might have been struck. So we're seeing a rapid escalation. I think this thing's about to really pop off, and that's the next clue. But unfortunately, what do you have for us?
It does appear that this gas station is well within range. It actually appears the other gas station was also well within range. On top of that, Grad has about a 21 to 22 mile range on average, and it really depends on a whole bunch of factors. But outside of that, this gas station was within range. This is the one that was targeted, and it is confirming that there is a wide range of fire from Sisaket all the way into Surin at this hospital, the Phanom Dong Rock Hospital, which has been confirmed to be hit by the Thai army. So, the Thai army confirmed it was hit by the Royal Cambodian Army. So it does appear that we can confirm that at this moment. So very unfortunate to hear. We have not gotten the casualty assessment out of that hospital at the moment, but we can largely confirm at this point that both sides are going for the throat of the other, and it pretty much dropped all civility at the start and are resorting to acts of savagery and also war crimes and crimes against humanity. So we will be waiting to see how this develops, but I have a feeling that this is going to be an either very nasty and heated border war like the one between India and Pakistan, or this might end up becoming a full-blown conflict, one way or the other. But with that, I hope that does address that well for the moment. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And also up next, big shout out to Just Chillin', another channel legend, for throwing in a $10 donation. Thank you very much, Just Chillin', for that support as well. And it's good to see you once again. We also had a 10 from the Secret Vault, and they said you were both very knowledgeable and deserve a journalism award 100%. And thank you for that.
I thank you so much, the Secret Vault, for the incredibly high praise. I don't think we don't do it for the journalism awards, but I do thank you so much for the support, and it would be an honor if we ever did get a journalism award. But I got to thank you impressively for supporting this channel and helping it to keep running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible. We wouldn't be able to do this, to be able to have folks like you say that we should get a journalism award if it wasn't for your support. And I got to thank you incredibly for that, because once again, folks like you help to make the world go round here on the Enforcer channel. So a big thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And also, Matthew, I think we can finally breathe a sigh of relief, because I was just thinking, someone said this in the comments, Maestro did. At least they're both not nuclear armed. Like, this is the first conflict we've actually seen the whole time we've been covering news on this channel where someone is not nuclear armed on either side.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder if that's going to make the conflict more likely to break out worse, or is it going to make it more likely to, simmer down, I wonder.
Probably more likely that it's going to get worse, honestly, because there's not any limiter like they could nuke us that either one's thinking. It's literally, get them. Like, there's no limit to getting them. So it might make it worse, but thank God we're not having to look at, apocalyptic levels of destruction if this keeps going, like most other conflicts where that is a serious concern. So very unfortunate in one degree that a war has broken out, but it's also a little bit fortunate and kind of a sigh of relief that it's another conflict that's not going to be going near nuclear almost immediately, like the Iran-Israel conflict, or North Korea and South Korea, or China and Taiwan, or Russia and Ukraine, or anyone else that we've been covering, where there's always a chance that it could become a nuclear conflict. So with that, we are on to the next one.
Also, by the way, who's the prime minister? Can you tell me the name of the prime minister of Thailand real quick? I need their name just to make sure I'm reading something properly.
Let's see. The Thailand. So let me go see really quickly. I can't say her name. She's nicknamed Ung Ing. But
okay, Ing. So that's why I need to know. So the Prime Minister of Thailand, a Prime Minister Ing is what I'm going to say. That's apparently maybe her nickname. I'm not really sure. But right now she is on TV crying, and she's very emotional. She's condemning Cambodia. And she's vowing and swearing that the government of Thailand and the army are going to protect the sovereignty and the people fully. They're ready to send encouragement for the officials and the people, and they're about to go at it full speed ahead. So she's extremely emotional. She's crying on national television, so she's very upset, obviously. And that's once again beating the drums of war quite a bit. So it appears to be the politicians and officials in Thailand are ready to go.
And it does appear so. Also, oh heavens, we cannot show you all any of these pictures, but it does appear that there was. Also, Matthew, are these reposted on our main post? They are, so we won't be able to show these. So
let me get rid of that.
Oh, well, you don't have to. I think that'd probably be good for the folks on Twitter. You know, we don't have to get rid of it.
Put it on the likes tab.
Yeah, put it on the likes tab. That's probably better. But we can confirm that the Cambodian army does have RM-70. So it actually appears that it is a mix. It's not all grads and it's not all vampires. They're using BM-21 grads and vampires, which use the same rocket launch system to fire across the border into Thailand at the moment. RM-70 vampires and BM-21 grads. And we can also see what appears to be another incident of a casualty. I cannot show y'all it. The ground. I'd have to say that's most like a fatality because to describe the picture to y'all, not to show it to y'all, but the ground around that area is literally bathed in blood. So that appears to be an unfortunate fatality, most likely just from the blood loss in that area alone. No casualties seen in the picture. It's just the aftermath, and it's fresh as well. So showing that the picture was taken recently after the incident. It also appears that the building was most likely moderately damaged by a rocket fire. There appears to be shrapnel blown out windows, and also some scattered debris around the area as well. We can also see the Cambodian MLRSs. We can also see a picture of the Royal Thai Embassy. I'm believing that that one's actually inside of the capital of Cambodia, which would be Phnom Penh. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And we can also see a picture of the Royal Embassy of Cambodia inside of Bangkok in Thailand. So, some very gruesome pictures coming out of this conflict already. I gotta be honest with you all, as far as brutality, never really seen this kind of brutality. Well, actually, in Operation Sindor, this kind of brutality was seen off the bat, but haven't really.
But this quick though, I mean, this quick, this rapid of a escalation to such brutality is quite, I would say, infrequent. Because I haven't seen anything escalate quite like this. Like not even the Ukraine-Russia war start off this brutal. Like this one's starting off rough. Even the one between Iran and Israel, it took a minute for it to heat up. This one's like snap your fingers instantly. It's already gloves off.
Well, the only one I've ever seen that's been this brutal, this quick, would be the India-Pakistan border war, where the Indians pulled off Operation Sindor, which started the armed conflict between the two parties officially, and they slammed those missiles into those two mosques and killed 70 Pakistanis within the opening minute. That's the only other thing where I can see that this kind of savagery, if you want to call it that, has existed, where you go for civilians off of the bat. I've never seen this before until then. Well, I haven't seen that since then. But this is something I kind of wish, folks, that YouTube didn't have the community guidelines that they have, because sometimes I think it is a little bit important to actually see what we see to get a little bit of a context as to how bad this stuff can be, because some of the pictures that we're already getting literally in the opening minutes are horrendous, really. I mean, this kind of stuff wasn't even seen in Ukraine until at least a couple of months in, these sorts of pictures and images coming out from Thailand at the moment. So it does appear pretty gruesome, that I'll say. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that well. Also, I see some people saying it's pronounced Phnom Penh, the capital of Cambodia. Thank you, everyone, for clarifying that. But with that, also, I know some people are probably going to hear us talking about this in a very clinical way. Just to really quickly explain, we've been doing this for 1,246 days nonstop. The gore is, I honestly do not encourage y'all to look at gore. Sometimes it's sometimes a little bit crucial to see it here and there, but very intermittently to understand the kind of brutality that's involved in war and also the kind of actions that armed forces are taking. But at the same time, I wouldn't really encourage y'all to look at it a lot, because we've looked at it so much. It's an order of business at this point for us, and a lot of the times I sit back and think, man, that's kind of a little messed up that we've seen that so much that Matthew and me can simply talk about that as a matter of fact, sort of a order of business. But I would generally encourage y'all not to look at it a lot. It ends up kind of messing with you a little bit, and you think about it a little while later, and it can be a little bit scarring. So I wouldn't really encourage y'all to look at it too much and just take our word for it. It's quite gruesome. But anyways, with that, we are on to the next one.
Also, by the way, more breaking news. I hate this is happening so late because it's really ramping up like literally as we're trying to go and wrap the stream up tonight. But we're going to cover it because it's happening literally right this second. So right now we're hearing from BBC that Cambodia's Ministry of Defense has issued a statement accusing Thailand of deploying an excessive number of troops, using heavy weapons, and carrying out airstrikes in an attempt to forcibly seize Cambodian territory. So the Cambodians are accusing the Thai forces, I keep wanting to say Taiwanese, but they keep accusing the Thai forces of trying to seize the Cambodian territory. That's currently the allegation. And they're trying to basically allege that, I guess Thailand's goal is to seize land in Cambodia, I guess. That's what they're claiming. But right now it's kind of hard to tell if that's the truth or not.
I would honestly say, considering... honestly, folks, we actually don't know the sequence of events at the moment beyond when we started covering it beforehand to know who's at fault or who's responsible for this, or the sequence of events to really lay them out. So I actually can't say who's to blame for this at the moment, but very nasty conflict.
Basically, Enforcer, here's the way I understand it right now, and this appears to be the best version of it that I've been able to gather. The Cambodian forces allegedly put mines where they didn't belong. The Thailand troops must have triggered one of the personnel mines and maybe had an injury or a casualty or something. The Thailand forces decided to retaliate. Then the Cambodian forces retaliated, and we're here basically where we are right now because of that.
It does appear so. Also, I got to say this really quickly, folks. Just as a side note, it's a little bit interesting to me, Matthew, the BBC, which is usually considered to be a very hard-working news source. They're literally just quoting the Khmer Times, which is a Cambodian newspaper, as their source. Like, they didn't do any work to get this information. They're literally just quoting other news sources. So, a little bit interesting because that's kind of what we do. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, so jumping into our next one here. This one is going to go to none other than Danny B, a channel legend. Hey! Chef Danny B. He's back once again with a $20 support, and thank you very much, Danny, for that support. And we do appreciate it, and it's good to see you. He said, "Good evening, Enforcers. Chef Danny here, and it's crazy. Let's see. 12 Thailands can fit inside the United States geographically, and it then has that many more 7-Elevens than we do. And LSA, and happy late birthday, Enforcer Matt. And thank you as well, Danny, for that happy birthday, and I do appreciate that.
And of course, long live the Lee Spring Army. And I gotta say, that is truly crazy. Not to get back in that rabbit hole again, but 14,000 7-Elevens in a country that size is insane. Like, literally everywhere you go in Thailand, there's a 7-Eleven somewhere. I can't even imagine that, honestly, in the United States, because I've never actually seen, to be entirely frank with you all, a lot of 7-Elevens. I've maybe seen like 7 of them in my life. But in Thailand, you would see 7 of them on a drive to work, or even more than that. That's just an insane sort of thing. Even more in Japan, and that's even crazier, because I don't think Japan, in terms of land mass, is that much larger than Thailand. And Japan's actually got the largest amount of them. They've got 21,000 of them. So 21,000 7-Elevens in a country about the same size as the state of California. That's just nuts. Like, it's just a crazy sort of a thing. But I hope that does address it the best I can, and a huge thanks to you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one here is going to go to Thomas Richard, who puts in a 10. And Thomas said, "Please, no one forget the Epstein list."
Oh, well, I mean, list? What list? Epstein? More like Philip my Stein. Get it? Because it rhymes with Steen. But beyond that, I gotta thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. What do you mean a list? I don't know what you're talking about. I really don't. Oh, by the way, he's on it. But we can't say that. We can't say who he is because we might get silenced, and that wouldn't be great. But with that, I hope that does address that well, and a big thanks to you once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
Okay, so moving on to our next one here. This one goes to the Wooden Sailor, who puts in a 10, and he said, "Pizza, pizza."
Hey, pizza. And I got to thank you so much for the support, because we always love a Little Caesars pizza. So big thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Robert Johnson, who puts in a 5. And Robert said, "LSA and Slava Ukraine."
And I got to thank you so much for the support. And Slava Ukraine, Slava. And long live the Lee Spring Army. The Lee Spring Army will never die. And so with that, a big thanks to you once again. And we are on to the next one.
And we have a 5 from Eternal Core, who said, I'm wondering how long until Israel can hold off their enemies until they fold, but it won't happen.
I would say, let's see. I don't think they'll ever really fold, honestly, Eternal Core, at least in my opinion. But I do thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Stray Cat 241, who puts in a 5. He said, do you have a favorite camo pattern? And me Choco Chip, or DPM, my hiking setup for MT. Cheers from Montclair, California.
I'm a pretty basic person when it comes to that. I like woodland camo, the U.S. woodland pattern. I think it's a pretty cool one, honestly. This is my favorite because it's dripped out. Look at that. That's drippy. That's drippy right there. Drip. Drip. They said drip or drown, and buddy, they're dripping. They're swimming in drip. I mean, it's amazing. But with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. A big thanks to you once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
Okay, so we also, by the way, are getting some video evidence here coming out, apparently from the Phantom Dong Rak Hospital in Thailand as Cambodia launches an attack. So we're getting the video now. So let's take a look at it and see what we can tell from this video.
So it does appear that we can see the video right there, and that is actually the statue in front of the hospital that we saw in pictures earlier. So this is confirmed to be at the hospital. So here's the clip. And that is MLRS impacts. We can also see that the Thai army is actually in the hospital. But this appears to be some sort of a supporting medical unit that... Let me check this again. Hold up, are they armed? It doesn't appear that any of them are armed. So this appears to be some sort of an unarmed medical support unit of the Thai army that's at this hospital, which still under the conventions of war, these are not, they are armed. Technically, they're not armed combatants, but they are a member of the Thai armed forces, but they're technically not supposed to be targeted because they're at a hospital, and it's assumed that they're not using the hospital for military activities, and we can clearly see military ambulances outside. And we can clearly see that they're denoted as a medical unit. They're wearing medical armbands. But that is confirmation that the Phantom Dong Rak Hospital is under attack at the moment, or at least was under attack for a while, and it is confirming that the Cambodians have gone out of their way to target and attack a hospital that is being used by the civilians and the military at the moment. So, very crazy to see. They actually did target a hospital. So, that is a war crime, technically, to target a hospital. So a little bit interesting with that. But anyways, with that, hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to MPuffer006, who puts in a 5. And they said, sorry, I've been a bit crazy here at times. And it's okay. He said, I appreciate you guys. And this is where I like to come to roost for news in conflict regions. And thank you very much.
And a big thank you for the support, MPuffer. And we're always happy to know that you're here. Better late than never is what I always say. And of course, a lot of people are busy out there living and doing their lives like we are, as a matter of fact. And so I thank you incredibly for the support, and I'm going to say thank you so much for enjoying our news and supporting this channel and helping it to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one here goes to Justin Berryman, who puts in a 5. He said, that was World War I, and it was the Lusitania, a sister ship of the Titanic, and it was sunk by a U-boat during unrestricted marine warfare.
And I thank you for the support, Justin Berryman, but that is true, but the Nazi Germans also made a movie saying that they sank the Titanic. It's an actual thing that exists. Let's see. Nazi movie about Titanic. Let me go find that really quickly. Yeah, so here it is, actually. If y'all didn't believe me, this is actually the movie right here. There's actually a Wikipedia article on it, and you can actually see one of the movie posters that was made for the movie in 1943 inside of Germany. And let's see. I'm trying to see if it points out the part where it was sank by a U-boat. Let's see the plot. It was laced with propaganda, by the way, but I'm trying to see the part where it actually is hit by a U-boat. Dang. What the hell? It doesn't mention that it was hit by a U-boat. I've heard in this movie that it was hit by a U-boat. But beyond that, I do thank you for support and helping this channel to keep it running. And I'll have to check to see if the story I said earlier about the movie showing that it was hit by a U-boat is accurate or not. But a big thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. Excuse me. Goodness, about to sneeze there for a second, but I sort of got control of it. But also, by the way, I see Quick saying, be aware of fake news regarding F-16s being shot down. Also, by the way, there's been no evidence of any fighter jets getting shot down. I don't even think Cambodia operates any fighter jets, so I think it's a disparity here. The Thai military is the only one that operates fighter jets, to my knowledge. The Cambodians have air defense that is Chinese-made, but rather than that, I don't think they operate fighter jets. So no shoot-downs that we've heard of as of yet. But anyways, jumping into our next one here. This one goes to CIA accounts payable yet again. And they put in a 5 this time, and they said, Ms. Disa, your check is inbound. Oh, is that right? I'm sorry. Say it again.
Oh, well, what do you know? And I got to thank you for the support, CIA accounts payable, and thank you for helping this channel to keep on running. Because it's folks like you make this thing possible, CIA accounts payable. So a big thanks to you once again. Also, really quickly, I saw some people saying, wait a minute, the Lusitania wasn't the sister ship of the Titanic? No, the Titanic was an Olympic-class liner, and the Lusitania was, I believe, a Mauritania-class liner. The Titanic was flagged by the White Star Line, and the Lusitania was flagged by the Cunard Line, which was a rival company at the time. Later, they would merge in 1934, I believe, to create the Cunard White Star Line, and then later on, they would rebrand and then be named the Cunard Lines, and then they would be bought by Carnival Cruise Lines, and they exist under the Carnival Cruise Lines company family brand system in the modern day. So I hope that does address that well, in case y'all are wondering about that. The Lusitania and the Titanic, completely different classes of ships, even different layouts, designs, everything. But with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one here goes to CK Bold, who puts in a 5. He said, take a live chat question, and we shall, CK Bold. And thank you very much for that support once again, and we do appreciate that. And the live chat question goes to none other than, let's see here, this one goes to Jesse Shafter. He said, are Thailand and China part of the Belt and Road Initiative from China? Or I think they meant to say Thailand and Cambodia.
Let me check really quickly, because I know that a lot of Central Asian countries are One Belt, One Road Initiative. Let me go see if there's a map of countries that are... Oh, yeah, you do. Hold up, folks. Sorry. I'm trying to see here. So technically, they would be, at least by a topographical map of the One Belt, One Road system. They incorporate roads through Central Asia, Russia, and also Southeast Asia, including Cambodia and Thailand, as a significant part of their planned trade infrastructure. So the answer to that would be yes. Would it really matter, though, for the Chinese right now? Not really, because most of the One Belt, One Road program has fallen apart for the larger part of it. So not really a big thing per se, but it still could end up playing into the Chinese Foreign Ministry trying to settle the conflict for both sides instead of picking one side or the other, if they wanted to. But I hope that does address that well. Big thanks to you once again for the support. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Quick. And Quick said, gunfire breaking out of the Thai-Cambodian border. And yes, you were the first to the news in the live chat. And thank you very much for that support, by the way. I do appreciate that. We also had a 5 from Quick once again. They said no bases in Thailand, but long-standing ally and U.S. built many air bases here. And dispute related to political fallout, that's Thai Army.
And I thank you so much for the support, Quick, and sharing that breaking news and information with us. So a huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And we have a $5 super chat from Thomas Richards. And he said, I've heard a lot of news about China focusing on Taiwan while the Russians fight Ukraine. And do you think the war is going to spread to Asia?
I think in the future it may, like probably within late 2026 or even 2027 at the earliest, that we may actually see the war reaches Asia in a large form in the war with Taiwan. But I don't think it's going to be happening right now. I still think that's going to be a good ways away from us, at least at the relative moment of today. So a big thanks to you for the support. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
Also, I just got to say, folks, like it's crazy. Somehow we've been on air again to cover the start of another conflict. Like it's really wild. Like I'm seeing like it break out like right now. I'm thinking, what were the odds? We've literally been on the air for another one. Like it's happening too often these days. Like I see people in the live chat saying, "Oh, it feels like World War III." I won't get into the World War III things. I know people are tired of hearing about that, but it does feel like conflicts are breaking out everywhere, and it's happening at such a frequency that it's obviously a bit concerning because it seems like everybody's fighting everybody right now. Like I haven't really seen such global chaos quite like this in the 25 years I've been alive, for as long as I've been cognizant of geopolitics. It seems like things are coming to a head just from all the fighting. And honestly, I'm not sure if it's because maybe these countries feel more emboldened to fight with each other because they're seeing all the instability globally, and maybe they're thinking in their heads, it's time to attack the other side because now everybody else is fighting. We're going to fight too. I'm not sure why that is, but Enforcer, what's your guesstimate? Why do you think this is happening so frequently?
I think it's just a lack of perceived global stability at this point in foreign policy that's leading people to do this sort of stuff. Because the amount and rapidity of wars breaking out around the world is truly unbelievable. It's to a scale that's never been seen before. Because just in the years that we've been covering the news, let's go over all the countries that have been at war and where. So first off, it would be today Thailand and Cambodia, Pakistan and India, Armenia and Azerbaijan, Turkey in Syria, Turkey against the Kurds, Syria against everyone, including everyone inside their country, Israel against Syria, Israel against Lebanon, Israel against Palestine, Israel against Iran, really the Houthis against the United States, the Iranians against the United States against Iran. Let's see here, who else? Let's see. Technically Abkhazia against Russia, all of the terrorist groups in Russia against the Russians against Ukraine. Let's see here. Oh yeah, South Sudan still in the civil war. There's a couple of conflicts going on in South America right now. Generally, there's almost a conflict everywhere in the world right now. In most places, it's somehow, in some way, somewhere. And it's a little bit crazy because generally you won't see this in most other times in history that there are that many conflicts going on everywhere in the world. Are they all a part of a unified war? No. So technically, they're not really a world war, but. Is the world at war? Yes. Like it's not a world war, but the world is at war because every single region and corner of the globe at this point have some kind of an active conflict happening in it somewhere. So
and that also reduces the amount of people that will be calling for peace because the more countries that are at war, and we have literally wars breaking out globally in pretty much every region right now, very frequently, more countries that are at war with one another, they're going to be less likely to call for peace or be able to mediate conflicts that are emerging elsewhere. So for example, the countries that might have maybe called for peace, if a war Thailand so much, they weren't really going to be heavily involved in that. But just speaking generally, like most countries getting embroiled in wars, they're not even going to be able to mediate or call for cooler heads to prevail because they're already fighting with their neighbors. So, it becomes less and less likely that people are going to basically have cooler heads prevail. It's going to be more like the hot heads are prevailing because everybody's already fighting.
Yeah, I mean it's a crazy time. I also saw someone say you should take a holiday in Cambodia to find out what's going on. I'm good. I generally have no ambitions or wishes to ever go to Cambodia, just to be entirely honest with y'all. The whole Pol Pot thing has scared me away from Cambodia forever. I wasn't even alive for that, but hearing about it and seeing what it was, I'm never going to Cambodia. So you can count on that. But beyond that though, it's a crazy time in history, folks. And I'm trying to think. Like, the amount of conflicts has been absurd. Like, honestly, the amount of things that have happened while we've been covering the news is absurd. We also, by the way, folks, had a small amount of lag there. I tried to tell Matthew, I went, oh, and he didn't stop. I was like, oh, I don't want to stop him. So there was, like, maybe 5 seconds, Matthew, where they couldn't hear what we were saying. And I was like, dang. But most of the point got through. But outside of that, I mean, damn, man, I'm trying to think of all the conflicts that have happened. Can you even think of the list? Because it's been more than I even said just a second ago.
Let's see. I mean, potential conflicts, recent conflict. I mean, obviously, we got the potential brewing conflict between North Korea and South Korea. We got the potential conflict between China and Taiwan. We've got the one breaking out between Thailand and Cambodia. We've got the one between India and Pakistan. We got the one between Iran and Israel. We've got the one between the Houthis and Israel, all the proxy forces in Israel. Also, obviously, Russia and Ukraine's a huge one. We got, technically, if you want to call Poland at war with basically Russia through hybrid means, because they're having a bunch of illegal migrants chase at the Polish border and having to shoot at them with rubber bullets.
That'd be a Belarusian
that's not technically. Say what?
That'd be a Belarusian thing, technically. That's a Lukashenko-led front.
Yeah, yeah. Also sponsored by Putin. Obviously, he uses Belarus as a puppet state, but he's sending all these guys at the border. I mean, technically, in my opinion, that's a form of warfare, but that's up for debate. Then obviously you got all the stuff happening with the cartels down in Mexico, if you want to call that a war. You know, we don't really declare war anymore. We just kind of fight. It's just the way it kind of works. But I mean, there's a lot more than that, but I just can't think of them right off the top of my head.
Venezuela and Guyana. Let's see. There's of course all of the cartel wars that are going on in Colombia still with the Colombian government and the cartels. You also have all of the cartels in Mexico, pretty much fighting the Mexican government and the United States. You also have, let's see here. Oh yeah, you have Haiti that's embroiled in almost a civil war at this point. But they're always like that. You also have, nothing else really in North America. In South America, there's some like slight uprising. There's been some sort of instability in Brazil that I've been hearing about lately. I don't really know a lot about it, but technically it could be some sort of a rebellion or an uprising in the Amazon. So technically a conflict going on there in a way. And then there's also an endless amount of conflicts going on in Africa. There are warlords in the fringe areas in Nigeria. Nigeria is actually developing rapidly, but the whole warlord problem in the outskirts is still an issue. There's also endless civil war in Liberia. It's never ended. Let's see here. There's some fighting between some warlords in the Congo, in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. There's still a civil war of a sort in South Sudan. There's a civil war in Sudan as well. There is also a civil war in Libya right now. There is, let's see, what's going on in Europe at the moment? The war in Ukraine, of course. There's pretty much the proxy conflict going on between Poland and Belarus, sponsored by the Russians. There's the upcoming world war pretty much boiling in Europe at the moment. Let's see here. Oh yeah, the Syrian civil war happened. The Nagorno-Karabakh war happened. The Iran-Israel war also happened. The Turks and the Israelis were involved in the Iran-Israel war. Well, more so the Syrian civil war. And the United States was also involved there as well. But we actually have breaking news coming out. So what do we got, Matthew?
Okay, so we have a brand new situation. This time it has to do with Russia. We're getting word right this minute that a Russian passenger plane has gone missing with about 50 people on board in the eastern Amur region. And unfortunately, can we get a location on that, by the way? Where is that inside of Russia, I would assume?
That's actually right here.
Okay, so we're getting reports that a Russian passenger plane with 50 people, 50 souls on board, is missing in this region right now. Nobody's really sure what has happened, but the plane is apparently not transponding, or at least according to the early reports, and it's gone missing in that region. So I'm not really sure what is happening with that, but worst timing on that. Not really sure why this plane's gone missing. I'm trying to get some more information on it. It's very vague right now. We're just getting the initial news wire about this. So no idea. It's a passenger plane, by the way. It's not a government plane, so that sort of rules out maybe another window incident. But I'm not really sure. Enforcer, what do you think?
Pretty wild. Honestly, it sounds like just a crash. You know, the Russian aviation is not up to good standards, so probably just a normal crash of a sort due to a lack of maintenance. So, you know, interesting. We'll have to wait and see if there was anyone important on board that plane, though, because there might be a chance that there was. But, oh yeah, I forgot, Matthew. We were talking about conflicts, and we finally just moved through the Middle East, kind of. Oh yeah, I forgot the Yemeni civil wars going on. The Saudis have been involved in that. The Israelis have been involved in that. Jordan also got involved in shooting down missiles from Iran. Qatar got bombed by the Iranians. The United States bombed Iran. Let's see, in Afghanistan, there's actually a bit of a civil war going on between the Taliban and other forces in Afghanistan, which is going on right now. The Afghanis and the Iranians got into a border skirmish. So did the Pakistanis and the Iranians. Let's see, no one in the Stan series countries of the former Soviet Union have been involved in any real conflicts. Let's see, India and Pakistan were shooting at each other. Let's see. Oh yeah. The Chinese have also been kind of like beating up the Indians in the mountains and the Himalayas a little bit as well. Forgot about that one. There's a civil war in Burma. Now Thailand and Cambodia are at war. China invaded some Vietnamese islands in the South China Sea. They also beat up some Filipino fishermen. Let's see here. What else? And China's preparing to invade Taiwan, and North Korea and South Korea are about to kill each other. So practically the entire world is almost at war with each other, or they are at war. Because I think I just went through the entirety of everything just north of the equator, and it's practically in a state of war at this point, or has been. So a pretty wild time in history. I mean, literally, there's a war happening just about everywhere in the world at some point on any given week. So, you know, it's a it's a good time to be in the business of news coverage, but it's not really a good time to be out there in the world right now, to be entirely honest. It's a really rough time. But with that, I hope that does address that well for the folks who are wondering how many conflicts are going on. It's a lot. It's pretty much everywhere. But with that, it is time for us to move on to our final questions and round this thing out because we are starting to go overtime. So what do we got, Matthew?
So jumping back into our super chats, this one goes to, wait a minute, hold on a second. Let's see here. I think we have another big piece of breaking news. The Wolfman has alerted me to a piece of breaking news here. I do need to get some confirmation on this real quick. Let's see here. So the Wolfman, I'm going to do some research on that, and then I'm going to get back to it. But jumping back to our super chat here, this one goes to Mr. Hunky Dory, who puts in a 5. And he said, bright red, not a color to be wearing when shot at in jungle warfare.
It's not really anything you want to wear, honestly, in my opinion, in Cambodia at all. Because if I remember the Khmer Rouge properly, they wore all these red bandanas and stuff, and that was kind of a big thing to them. And I was like, I don't know if you'd want to wear that, considering the historical context of it in Cambodia. So, with that, I hope, actually they did. I'm looking at, I can't show you all the pictures though, but they did. So not really something that you want to be wearing exactly. But with that, I hope that does address it the best I can. A big thanks to you for the support and helping this channel to keep on rolling, and not a good thing to wear in general. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, so our next one here is going to go to anonymous user who puts in the 5. This said 750 tons of missiles were intercepted heading for Iran.
Yeah, that's true. I did hear about that. And so with that, a big thanks to you for the support. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And we have a 2 from Deminoac, and they said that them soldiers are not to take pics of someone else.
I actually did hear about it. I don't know if you heard about that, Matthew, but the Jelani government actually put out a statement because the Druze, the Syrian interim government forces actually would film themselves massacring Druze. And so the Jelani government actually put out a more quiet telegram to everyone, hey, stop putting that online, it's making us look bad, to pretty much try and sweep it under the rug and make sure no one actually knew what was going on. But we actually, if y'all don't know, we actually reposted one of those clips because it actually involved an American student that was in the area and was massacred. We actually did retweet one of those on our Twitter to make it quite clear that while the Jelani government is trying to hide that sort of stuff from the public eye, it is happening, and it's not something that's made up or something that's fabricated to try and slander the Jelani government. This is actually something that they are doing, and it's orchestrated by the government. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, at least from what we're seeing at the moment. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one here is going to go to Mr. Hunky Dory once again, who puts in a 2. And thank you very much, good sir, for that support. We also have a 2 from Swappa23, who said, Enforcer Matt, Reuters has a breakdown of the clash.
And I thank you so much for sharing that with us, because we will be trying to take a little look at that once we're off air and probably after we get some sleep by tomorrow morning. But a big thanks to you so much for the support. I hope that does address that well. And folks, considering that we're going overtime at this moment, we are going to be addressing some live chat questions. We're going to get 3 live chat questions in our Morse code decoders, and then we're going to be rounding out the stream for the night, and most likely guaranteed, we will be making a short war video for all of y'all tomorrow on the Thai-Cambodia conflict. So with that, what do we got, Matthew?
Okay, so I'm getting the source that the Wolfman was citing in our chat just a moment ago. So let's see here. Hold on a second. Let me get this. So this is breaking right now. This is on the BBC's website. Thailand closes all border points with Cambodia. The entire border has been sealed. And the whole thing. A press conference with the military has just started, and they're apparently announcing that right off the bat. So the entire border between Thailand and Cambodia has been sealed as of right this second. So another big move as well. And once again, Thailand's reiterating that they want all their citizens in Cambodia to leave immediately because things are getting very dangerous very quickly. So that is the new big news right now. But Enforcer, what say you?
And that is, I would say that's expected. With the border war happening, they're probably not going to be allowing any border crossings, and also the whole border will be on the state of high alert. But it is showing us that this is a full-blown border war, without a doubt. Like, that's only confirming that at this point. But still, it's showing that this is at the least a significant border war. This isn't a border skirmish. This is a full-on border war at this point. And tomorrow it might turn into a full-blown war, just all out. But we'll have to see. But with that, I hope that does address it well. Also, thank you, Matthew, for breaking that news to everyone. And also thank you to, who was it that broke that news to you real quick, Matthew?
It was the Wolfman.
Del Wolfman for sharing that with us. A big thanks to you for being a great news sleuth. And so with that, we are on to the Morse code decoders of the night. What do we got, Matthew?
And we have the Morse code decoders: Paul Schultz, Kevin J, Mason Miami, Joni Dog, Norm Pritchett, Arabelle Garbo, and her royal fluffiness. They said the Morse says, Iran is wanting. Is that what I hear? A second midnight hammer. Tisk. Very bold drunk. LLT LSA.
And that's the sound of money. And y'all got that dent on the nail. That was the Morse code message of the night. I got to congratulate y'all greatly for getting that Morse code message correct. Once again, in the Lee Spring Army Single Corbies, y'all get that correct time and time again. Every single night. And it's very impressive that y'all do. So a massive shout out to y'all. Once again, a huge round of applause. And with that, we are on to the third to last question of the night.
All right, and this one is going to go to none other than AF Kaplan, who said, are there any elements of the Khmer Rouge left in Cambodia? And if yes, could they be stirring the pot and causing this whole thing to pop off?
I'm not really sure. Unfortunately, I'm not really that well versed on the modern Cambodian internal ideological situation to speak about the, is it the Khmer Rouge or is it the Khmer Rouge? I thought it was the Rouge, possibly.
They spelled it Rogue. I'm just not really sure.
I can't pull it up on the main screen because that actually pulls up some pretty nasty stuff just by typing that in. Let's see.
Khmer Rouge.
So I was saying it right. Because every time anyone says it differently, like you did, Matthew, it makes me think, wait a minute, I'm sounding stupid. Am I saying that wrong? I actually said that right. But beyond that, I wouldn't, unfortunately, know enough about the modern Cambodian internal situation to be able to speak on that matter. So I'd have to declare ignorance at the moment. But with that, we are on to the second to last question of the night.
And this one goes to Reed. And he said, Mossad is very impressive. And what's the CIA pager attack equivalent? Honestly, Reed, we don't have like a whole bunch of like really deep operations like that. Like we have done some. The closest one I would say would probably be Stuxnet when we infected the systems and the centrifuges in Iran's secret nuclear site way back a while ago. Can't remember which year it was, but we did that at some point. And it was a very in-depth operation to get Stuxnet actually injected into those systems, the industrial controllers inside of that facility. But the catch is, though, when Mossad pulled out the pager operation, they literally controlled every aspect of production, which is unheard of. That was insane, the level of planning that went into that, because they literally had to set up shell companies to sell these pagers to the terrorists, which is a feat in itself, that they were able to gain the trust of these really bad actors, sell them the sabotage pagers. Then they actually bought them, hook, line, and sinker, equipped their whole crew with them, and then they executed the operation. It was really, honestly, I'm still baffled by it. Really, it's planning that I can't even really fathom. But Enforcer, what say you?
Mossad blows up people with pagers. The CIA overthrows whole governments on its own without military involvement. So I would say that while we don't have anything in comparison with the pagers, has the Israeli government, or really has Mossad ever overthrown a foreign government? And the answer to that, at least from what we know, is no. The CIA actually overthrew the Iranian government in 1953 and installed the Shah into power for the Shah of Iran to even exist. And we went through all of Central and South America, overthrowing governments throughout the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s, whenever they didn't really do what we liked, or they started to become a little red. We would go down there and we'd throw that government out and bring in a new one, and the military wouldn't even be involved. It would just be the CIA doing that for a fun Tuesday. So while it doesn't really look like in the modern perspective the CIA is that all-powerful or as scary as the Mossad, the reality is that the CIA historically has done things at such like blowing up some people with some spike ATGMs and blowing up a thing or two here, that's just normal sabotage. You can do that with a partisan group or really, for a fun afternoon. But getting an entire government to conduct, lower members of a government to conduct a coup successfully and overthrow an old one and bring in a new one is something that is actually incredibly difficult to pull off. More difficult to pull off than the pager operations in real practical action. So I would say that the CIA has a lot of things to actually trump the pager attack, but the pager attack is probably the most impressive thing to happen in the 21st century so far. But historically, the CIA has a lot of things, in my opinion, that top what the Israelis did with the pager operation. So with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, at least in my opinion. Because like they might be blowing some people's balls off with some pagers, but who in the world has ever overthrown a government? It's us in the United States, and we've done it a lot. Like if you look through the history of the CIA, we did it almost every few years back in the day. But with that, it is time for us to move on to the final question of the night. And so with that, who is the last person that threw in the lucky last question of the night?
Oh, breaking news! Breaking news! We've got some breaking news. So before we get to that last question tonight, we have more news, more details about the Russian passenger plane that's gone missing in the Amur region of Russia. Right now, we're hearing that allegedly it's a passenger plane, an AN-24, with 46 people on board, not the 50 that was originally reported. The AN-24 plane was flying in the Khabarovsk route. Near the final point, it failed to check in. There's no contact with the plane, emergency services told Interfax. And there's 40 passengers and 6 crew members on board the plane. So whatever's happened with this aircraft, it's not contacting air traffic control inside of Russia. It's apparently not on radar, from what I can gather, either. So this appears to be maybe likely, possibly a crash, but we're not sure exactly why it crashed or if we're certain it crashed. So that is an interesting one right there. But a lot of people on board that AN-24 aircraft, that's a passenger plane that was flying through the Amur region of Russia. But Enforcer, what say you?
I wouldn't have wanted to be on that. That looks like a death trap in its own right. Like, I would honestly think it's probably just a lack of maintenance that brought it down, really.
It could be. It definitely could be, actually, since it's Russian.
Yeah, how long have these things been in service? Oh my God, these things went into service in 1959. I would not fly on one. Me personally, like, I'd just be honest with y'all. Damn. Oh, they have them in Ukraine too. I would just not fly on them. These things look ancient, and they also look scary, and I'd be scared that they're probably poorly maintained over their whole service life, and not only that, poorly maintained now, given the modern state of the Russian civilian aerospace industry. So probably the fact it was just brought down from bad maintenance. But if the plane did crash, we're never going to hear a lot about it. It crashed, 46 people died. Oh, well. And then they'll just brush it under the rug, and there will never be an official investigation that's done publicly into why it crashed. So we'll never exactly know. Probably out here in the West. But with that, I hope that does address that breaking news the best we can. Breaking news! Breaking news! But with that, it is time for us to move on to the final question of the night. So, who was the lucky last person to put in the lucky last question of the night?
And the viewer is David Tablet. He said, I wonder if it's possible that the Iranians put out the story to regain some of their credibility with their own civil populace about the Israeli link between the explosions.
Probably. I mean, they probably might have to make it look like they're on top of the ball and they're going to get someone. But the truth is that anyone with a brain could see that the Israelis were clearly blowing the stuff up. It doesn't take a genius. And for some reason, the Iranians were literally acting like they would have no clue who was doing it. And we could tell you without even having to have an intelligence background or any proof, it's the Mossad, without a doubt. So with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. And with that, we have reached the end of tonight's stream. I'm going to thank you all so much once again for watching tonight. We had a peak viewership tonight of a whopping 13.9 thousand people and an overall viewership of 132,000 people as we're rounding out this stream tonight. I got to thank you all so much once again for watching. It's been an absolute honor and a pleasure to be able to run the stream for all of y'all, and a huge thanks to everyone who supported the channel as well, as y'all support is the life's blood of helping us to keep this channel running day in and day out and to make this our full-time job. We will be seeing you all tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Time to cover the next 24 hours of news from around the world, and I have a feeling that Enforcer Matt's going to be with y'all all for a midday short war summary to cover what's been going on inside of Thailand and Cambodia and all of the other news that's been happening around the world within that time. And so with that, we will see you all then. Good night, good luck, take care, stay safe, Slava Ukraini, and long live the Lee Spring Army. The Lee Spring Army will never die.
And with that, folks, thank you all for joining us once again tonight. And somehow this turned into another historic stream as we covered the start of another conflict. It's uncertain exactly how large this one's going to get, but it looks like it probably is going to get larger than it currently is right now, but we just simply don't know where it's going to go. So tomorrow, I will most likely be making a short war video about that issue. They'll be put out midday, and we will see you all on the stream tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern on our nightly war news schedule. And a huge shout out to all 132,000 people that were here by the end of the stream, and thank you all for joining us once again. And with that, Slava Ukraine, Heroem Slava, get some rest, and good night.